I'd like to think I could talk myself into about any sports viewing, particularly really any NFL game viewing. That it is the 1,000-pound gorilla, et cetera, et cetera. I can't talk myself into tonight.
You can't do it tonight? Come on, man.
I think
it's Spencer Rattler.
It's our first major Thursday night clunker.
It's such a great point. I got in the car this morning, on Sportsmanlike on ESPN Radio. They're mentioning, the Broncos and Saints are tonight. And I got thinking, boy, am I really going to watch that? And the answer is I probably will, more than you, but not as much as I normally would. Wolf.
I am going to be a man of my word, and here at 7:01 a.m. say I will not watch it. I have no reason to. What is this, an Outback Bowl between Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler?
You don't have Cortland Sutton on any of your fantasy teams?
No. Alvin Kamara I stopped drafting a couple years ago.
He's
so
been
shout
good this
out
year.
to everybody out there that will consume it. We do have Pacers tonight, so luckily for me, that viewing will be elsewhere. 7 o'clock tonight. Preseason finale, you can hear that on these airwaves, and like Monday night, you can also see it on Bally Sports Indiana. It'll be Charlotte, and we'll see how regular season-like they treat it. Rick Carlisle kind of hinted at that with us on Tuesday, so we'll see exactly what the plan of action is after we saw Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, among others, resting on Monday night.
Yeah, what do they have, like 6-7 days now after tonight before the start of the regular season? So it's not like it starts in 2 days.
Correct.
You can play these guys.
It's
Wednesday.
Okay. Next Wednesday will be their regular season opener. So good Thursday morning to everybody out there. That chill is still very alive and well. Does look like temperatures are going to warm up here for the weekend, and we'll see what that roof looks like coming up on Sunday inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Certainly plenty of Colts talk to get to here. Anthony Richardson, a full participant yesterday in practice, so continued important steps to his return to action coming up on Sunday. Outside of that, the injury list was long, and we will certainly go over that today. Again, Colts and Dolphins in Week 7. Indianapolis continues to be a field goal plus favorite in this one.
You mentioned the cold. I mean, at some point this weekend, or is it going to rebound for next week? You have to dig up all the plants. You have to clean everything up. One last cleaning day at the Bowen household.
It crossed my mind. Do I start to take the hoses off? Or is that a little insane in mid-October?
I know what you mean by that. At our last house in southern Indiana, I forgot to do that. So in southern Indiana, that'll cost you $210 if you forget to do that for them to fix that issue.
That sounds awful.
It was awful.
I remember doing that like the first year I lived. This will be like our 6th year that we've lived in this house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man. I'm a homeowner.
Yeah, you felt
Come
good,
on.
didn't you? Yeah.
Kevin Bowen, good work crossing that off the list.
I know.
And now each year I'm like.
Now it's a pain.
Now I'm like, well, I mean, I got to do it on October 10th. I got to do it on October 12th. I'm like, all right, you're not, curing the world's disease here. Let's
you felt good about yourself. You felt like a man, like you were doing something manly.
I felt like Mike Gundy.
Yes, you did. Maybe by I always think Halloween, November 1st might be the time. Now, as it pertains to the practice report, obviously we'll get into that. The ones that lead the way, Anthony Richardson practicing in full yesterday. I did kind of laugh. I guess Anthony talked before they had practice, or did he talk after practice?
Before.
Okay, that's what I thought, because he was still hedging that if I'm out there on Sunday, I'm like, big boy, if you're doing all these full practices, you better be out there on Sunday. And then the other one, I want to dive into this maybe a little bit more as we go today, KB. But Jonathan Taylor, again, I mean, there's no reason, right, with the ramp up usually that JT needs that you've talked about, that we should expect Jonathan Taylor to play on Sunday. I mean, I guess that's how I feel. And quite frankly, that's a bummer. So, and everybody else, I don't know what to think. Like, I'm not too worried about Josh Downs. I say I'm not worried about Michael Pittman Jr. knowing that it's going to be week to week. But it was a pretty comprehensive practice report. Everyone that's going to play on Sunday basically, was limited or did not practice in many ways yesterday.
Probably shut the door on DeForest Buckner's return.
Yeah, I think
today, again, or this week, I should say. Again, that 21-day window did not start yesterday. You would think for a guy that's missed a month plus, he would need a full week of practice to give it a go. So, again, nothing official on that, but I would say it's probably looking like that here in Week 7. And I would say a couple of other notable defensive injuries. Certainly Dayo Dangbo falls on that list when you don't have DeForest Buckner. Again, he left Sunday's game for a period of time due to a hamstring injury. And then E.J. Speed. That's the leading tackler in the NFL right now. He did not practice yesterday. So, As always with the Wednesday injury report, it's like the first test of the semester. The Thursday injury report holds a little bit more of a midterm evaluation. The Friday injury report is kind of like the final exam. So we will continue to evaluate that as the week moves along.
Yeah, I did see yesterday, I saw a lot of people who were nervous. I don't want to say flipping out, but were very concerned on Twitter X about the practice report. I'm like, do you guys not remember last week? Do you not remember, even me saying, I don't know what to believe anymore? Plus, Shane Steichen on Wednesdays gives guys time to recover. I mean, we have seen that in a year and a half now with Steichen, have we not? So that's why it doesn't surprise me too much. I guess they should. I mean, EJ Speed is worrisome if that lingers into today. But if not, if he's limited today and practices on Friday, then Wednesday he got a maintenance day. That's basically it.
I know. I try to talk myself into that like every week, and then I'm like, wait, remember week 2 when all of a sudden like Julian Blackman wasn't out there on a Wednesday,
a good point,
and then he wasn't out there on a Thursday, and he wasn't out there on a Friday, and boom, he missed the game. So Miami's injury report, I would say, looks a little different. Looks like they're going to get Devin Achane back, their explosive running back. So, again, my worry level, a little bit higher this week than it was last week. We'll get into that throughout the show, but Miami actually, I think there is some reasons to be a hair skeptical outside of just, they're 32nd in the NFL in points scored. They're starting. Do we have to call him Pro Bowler Snoop Huntley?
Well, I think we do. I mean, Gardner Minshew gets called that. Gardner Minshew made the Pro Bowl last year, and this year, a month into the season, got benched by Aiden Hutchinson. Not Aiden Hutchinson. What's his name? Aiden O'Connell.
And Snoop Huntley was on the practice squad of the Ravens. Pro Bowler.
Yes, he was.
When the Dolphins.
Didn't he win a playoff game?
Brought him there.
He either won a playoff game or he won the game that got them into the playoffs. Did he not? I remember being to the Cincinnati Bengals, wasn't it? Yeah.
And like Lamar Jackson didn't go to the game. Wasn't all that drama.
Oh, yeah.
On that end.
Oh, yeah.
Other items of note to get to today. Shout out to Rigoberto Sanchez, your AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. I always say when punters win that award, I think, boy, what a bad week for special teams in the NFL.
Yeah. Steve Spurrier used to say about Kentucky, well, they're not a great team, but they got a great punter.
In all seriousness, Rigo was.
Oh, he was good. They won the game.
Outstanding in icing that game, coming back from that torn Achilles a couple years ago continues to be a weapon there for the Colts. Anything you want to see Pacers-wise tonight?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's easy Pacers-wise. You don't want to see the timeout of disgust from Rick Carlisle. And I mean early in the game, I mean the first 90 seconds, you don't want to see it 8-0. I mean 3.5 minutes in, you don't want to see it 15-3, whatever it may be. And then with the starters, getting ready, I think there is a sense of, this used to be this way in the NFL where the third preseason game, right? We've always talked about this. The third preseason game, used to be known in the NFL that's when you were going to play guys either a half or, into the third quarter, whatever it may be. I guess, when he was on with us on Tuesday, Carlisle said, we're going to play this like a real game. So that leads me to believe, KB, that's what you're going to see, is you're going to see normal rotations. And if you see normal rotations, does that mean Jarris Walker and others are ahead of Ben Shepherd? I think that's something. So timeout of disgust, some of the stuff with the rotation, and then, the young guys that, and I want to pinpoint just one or two of them, but some of the young guys that got an opportunity the other night, that didn't shine, that were hunting shots that he talked about and everything else.
You can say Matherin's name
out
loud.
I mean, Matherin would be one of them. For them not to do that, for that, at some point, especially for Matherin in year, 3, I mean, at some point that's going to have to run out, right? I mean, at that, you're going to have to grow up and you're going to have to fit in to this offense. So I know that's a lot for a preseason game, but I'm looking to feel better overall about the Pacers. I know there are a couple games he hasn't felt better, and that's Rick Carlisle. Defense, of course, will be something we talk about. So I know that's a lot, but I just want to leave Bally Sports tonight with my man Kristen Airy. I want to feel better about myself about this team, and I think we probably will.
Boy, I can't go on the Bally Sports side of it, but yeah, I certainly hear you out. It's weird. I sit here and I've watched the 3 preseason games, and again, the starters pretty much played in 2 of them. And if you're going to say, Kevin, you have to grade the preseason effort out of the starters.
Okay.
I'd give it a pretty poor grade. Like if you literally made me say, how have they looked? And I don't know if I'm overreacting to it, but it's like, Cleveland kind of dusted them in the first half, and Cleveland really didn't even play their main guys the other night. They were better in Atlanta, but still defensively that first quarter, that was a struggle. And then, of course, it's the old, how much do you evaluate the preseason? I thought Rick actually gave a decent answer to that on Tuesday of like, as much as you want to ingrain, hey, let's focus here. Let's really lock in. Like, let's try and, spend these reps like they are valuable. Human nature is human nature for some of these guys. So I can't imagine I've ever reacted to an NBA preseason before in my life. So why would I start now?
Well, that's what we're doing. I think Carlisle viewed the Memphis game as a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, and
that's the problem.
Those are his exact words, I think. And again, the Memphis game, it's like, I would agree with that, but no Halliburton and Siakam.
Right.
Or even,
it's not a real game. They didn't have John Morant.
Or McConnell if you want to go a little further. And yes, Memphis missed some guys. So, again, selfishly for my entertainment value and just for us to have a little bit better context, I would like for the starters to get a little bit more run tonight. So we'll see, again, how that plays out. 7 o'clock tonight with Charlotte. How about that shot by Sabrina Ionescu last night? You see that?
Yeah, I did. We'll play it later on. I had Corbin cut the call from Ryan Ruocco. Well, I don't know why I butchered his name there, Ruocco. Yeah, I mean it was a big shot. I did see some people are like, it's the biggest shot in New York basketball history. I'm like, can we chill? Can we chill? 5 minutes after the shot, we have to go to. It's the biggest shot in. Is
that what Greeny's going to lead with today at 10 a.m.?
I don't think Greeny's done his show in 3 weeks.
Well, that seems par for the course.
I only knew one other radio gas bag locally who could get away with that, but he gets away with it on a national level. By the way, before we take a break, I knew when you brought that up that I had looked at these. So I find things on Amazon, then I email them to myself, or whatever. You can buy the outdoor faucet cover. 2 of them for $10. So do you want to split that? You want you don't want a cover?
I want to act like I'm doing something, taking the hose off.
Well, you take the hose off, but this goes over top of the nozzle
of the valve or whatever?
Of the spigot, if you will. That's a very old man term that only Corbin knows. The spigot. My grandfather used that word all the time. You don't want one of those? Because I don't need 2 of them, and they only come in a pack of 2. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the second one. I'll bring it in, and you can decide.
Okay, I probably should do it, but I don't know if my ego can take it.
Okay, well, that's fine. Again, $210 if you if that breaks.
Once you say the alternative, then I'm like, boy, I feel like an idiot.
This is a $4 thing that can save you $210.
Not doing that.
Just throwing it out there.
I felt this way back in February for those that forgot about this. When Steph Curry did the 3-point head-to-head competition at Lucas Oil Stadium on that All-Star Saturday night, Sabrina was the opposition.
Oh, yeah.
And she was outstanding. Like, got off to a super hot start. And I think Steph had to make like his last 3 to beat her.
Oh, she put the pressure where it's like she's going to beat Steph Curry.
Right. And I remember walking out of the arena that night, or I guess the stadium, I should say, and thinking, man, that is awesome that she lived up to the hype and all of that in that moment there and delivered a performance that Steph was like, gosh, I just shoot my ass off.
Yeah, he did. I thought he was going to lose.
And he did do that. And last night, I think you saw how Sabrina is wired. I think Kobe Bryant and that family's always been huge Sabrina Ionescu fans. So last night, for those that missed it, I guess you call it a little step back, maybe more like a step to the left. Deep 3. They win Game 3 on the road, the Liberty over the Lynx there, 80-77. And Game 3 of the NLCS, I guess New York could only celebrate so much last night. It was the Dodgers all over the Mets. And that one,
isn't that too bad?
With a 3-run homer. So Dodgers
bad.
up 2-1. Game 4 will be at 8 o'clock tonight. Your Yankees will take on the Guardians at 5 o'clock. Have the Guardians learned how to play baseball?
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you play in Cleveland. You end up playing at 5 o'clock. Not the 8 o'clock game. We'll stick you. You're in Cleveland. All right, we'll put you at 5 o'clock.
Maybe the sun still being in the sky will help them out and not committing errors or base running issues.
Well, they're too busy bragging about how they don't spend money on their payroll that they got the sun in their eyes. So, I'll be a little bit Starky in about a week if that series goes the way it does. Also, coming up at 7:30, can you give me 60 seconds to just do the local sports radio thing on the one bozo who did not have Caitlin Clark on either first or second team All WNBA
so do we think this
yesterday?
Is the same
it has to be
human that didn't vote her Rookie of the Year.
And we just need to find out who it is. Come on, internet. Come on,
I
Twitter.
Said it a few weeks ago.
Come on.
You strip the person's credential. You make them be like the junior mascot for a game, or maybe for a whole season.
I'm fine with that. It's completely ridiculous. So we'll dive into that as well. Scott Agnes coming up at 8:30. Remember, Jason Hammer going to join us as well
We
in
hope
the
on
9
Scott
o'clock.
Agnes.
Well,
we should
hope.
probably get in front of it right now.
Yeah.
Hand raised here. I should have texted Scott to ask him if he was still good to go for Thursdays at 8:30.
He's not awake right now.
Mark is out. I for some reason I just felt like Mark usually does that. Corbin,
Right.
my apologies for not telling you to text Scott. So it's like, do you text him right now and rattle potentially his sleeping schedule, or do you just write it out and hope that we wake him up at 8:30?
Oh, I think we ride it out and we just see if he answers the phone at 8:30.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the way we do it.
We'll go that route.
So we'll see if we have Agnes coming up at 8:30. All right, couple different things. Reminder tonight on The Fan, it is Pacers hosting the Hornets pregame tonight on The Fan at 6:30. Reminder coming up next, Steichen and Anthony Richardson both talked about his availability on Sunday, plus your news and scores from overnight. Appreciate you waking up with us. Morning check down next, right here on The Fan.
I just placed the bet. Purdue to cover 27.5 tomorrow night.
Oh, nice. You didn't think about buying the extra half point or just
No,
27.5?
I'm going to believe in the Friday night emotional hangover. Ryan Walters calling the plays.
Sure.
Ryan Brown getting his second start.
Who doesn't want to bet on Ryan Walters calling the plays there at Purdue?
That's your Friday night special there from entertainment
Hopefully it
value
wasn't one of
standpoint.
your, pay the mortgage bets that you've made with the Pacers lately.
I feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
It was a healthier bet than I'm used to here.
All
but
right.
still, we'll see
I
how
like that.
it plays out. What else might Anthony Richardson bring we haven't talked about? I think that's something we can hit on here on the other side. And again, the Dolphins do have a little bit more of a worry level for me than maybe their record or their scoring output indicates this season. We'll hit that on the other side. But Andy Sweeney, go ahead with the morning checkdown.
Yeah, let's start with the Colts. Obviously, we do it every morning. Shane Steichen, boy, I bet everyone basically met with the media yesterday. We'll focus on Steichen, and as we go, a little bit on Anthony Richardson. So this is a little long, especially for Steichen. It's about 45 seconds. Here's everything basically yesterday that Steichen said about Anthony Richardson.
You want to have a long career in this league, and you look, around this league, obviously there are some guys I've been around a guy that's, started 225 games at quarterback, 230 games in Rivers that, was a warrior. But that's rare. I mean, that doesn't happen a lot of times. You look at all these quarterbacks that have played for a long time, have went through something at some point in their career, and the longevity of staying healthy is a big part of it.
With Rivers, he played through injuries in his career for sure. Is that something Anthony is going to have to do to be able to play through injuries when he's not 100%?
Yeah, I think it depends on the injury. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a guy that can run around and make plays. Philip was a pocket passer. But we work through those things, and as you get going and getting older and feeling your body and more, we'll work through those.
Kenny was asked there on the follow-up of, is he going to have to start to play through some of these injuries?
It's a good question.
Did say something like, hey, I wasn't even 100% in week 2. When you think back to that week 1 game with Houston, remember when he kind of vicious hits he took?
Oh, yeah. We talked about it.
Flaggable hits, frankly, that were not called in that game. So it does seem like, based off his full participant yesterday, that he should be able to be back in the lineup coming up on Sunday. The injury report was long, though. We'll go over that here in a few. All right, tonight, thankfully, Thursday night football is awful. We have the Pacers, though, from a viewing standpoint here in this market. Pacers-Hornets preseason finale. Again, the thought is it'll be a little bit more regular season-like. We'll see exactly how regular season-like it is for the Pacers as they will play their final game here in the preseason. Their regular season will open up coming up on Wednesday in Detroit. Thursday night football is Broncos and Saints. Am I seeing this right? Denver is favored on the road?
They are favored on the road. The Saints have nobody playing tonight. Rashid Shaheed's not playing. Chris Olave's not playing. Carr, of course, is out. There's a guy or two I'm missing on there, but basically they're, just completely injured. And, that defense, now Surtain's not playing for the Broncos, but I guess the thought is there'll be just enough offense with the Broncos and their defense will win the game. I don't know what to tell you.
Is this a Sean Payton? Do we celebrate the return of Sean Payton here if you're a Saints fan?
I think you do. I don't know. I'm not the one, with Saquon Barkley going back to the Giants. I'm not the one to probably talk about it. He'll be booed.
Hand him a bag of money and say, here's the bounty money that you left here, Sean Payton.
I guess the only thing would be, he went to New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina, and he revitalized, rebuilt, and did win a Super Bowl. So I think there'll be a healthy amount of cheering, don't you? You think they'll boo him off the field?
No, I think I think you are probably right. They will probably cheer him.
But we'll see. Again, that one coming up tonight on Amazon Prime. I would imagine Al Michaels will be snarky throughout this game, if I know Al Michaels.
Probably safe bet.
Major League Baseball last night, NLCS Game 3. Dodgers all over the Mets. This one was interesting in the first 3 innings, and then it was basically over. The Mets left bases loaded, and it was done from then on out. So Dodgers lead that series 2-1. You get both games Tonight, Yankees Guardians at 5 o'clock. Yankees lead that one 2-1. They can really put this away if they win tonight. Dodgers Mets, the same. Dodgers 2-1 over the Mets. That one tonight at Citi Field at 8 o'clock.
Last thing on my agenda, last night in the WNBA, some heroics. Sabrina Ionescu late in that one, tied up at 77. She is, I would say, 10 feet behind the three-point line. Goes to her left here, bangs one in to give the Liberty the road victory, silence that Minnesota crowd. They are up 2-1 in that series. Yesterday, it was announced by the WNBA they're all first team. Caitlin Clark was indeed on it. She becomes the first rookie since 2009 to make WNBA's all first team as a first-year player.
That's pretty good. I don't know who made it in 2009. I saw that stat. I should have looked that up.
I think there's been 5 rookies in league history.
Okay.
Tamika was one of the 5. Boy, I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
if
I
you
don't
did
know.
In 09, would you still be playing?
It was mean of me to quiz you right there, but I did. I'm sorry. Instead of just looking it up myself,
and it was going to be a nice back and forth.
It was a bad back and forth. I apologize. I thought you knew it, and you were just slow playing me a little bit. You wanted me to ask you.
Is Maya Moore a safe bet?
That might be it. Very well could be her. So, yeah, I want to do that. On the other end, can you give me just a second? We got to talk about this dope who's not voting for Caitlin Clark for a second. The worry, is there a worry with Miami coming to town? And, of course, a couple thoughts on Anthony Richardson. We'll do that next. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake Up Call. It's a Thursday right here, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Well, that Colts injury report from yesterday certainly had some length to it. I believe 8 starters on it, but one injury that we should mention from Sunday, I don't know if you saw this, but I thought it was the most impactful play that Will Levis had in the game on Sunday. You want an update on our equipment guy that had to be carted off
man,
the field?
I was wondering where you were going to go. I thought that's where it was going to head. Yeah, let's go. What do you have his name? Do we have his update? What do we got here? Let's go.
Brian Robb.
Okay, Brian Robb.
He broke his leg officially on that diagnosis on the Will Levis sideline incident from Sunday. Surgery on Tuesday. Good news, he's expected to make a full recovery.
All right, so here's my question. So that's a Nashville guy, right? He's a Titans guy.
Titans, I guess, equipment staffer is probably the best way to put it.
So I guess that's my question. Does he have health insurance through the Tennessee Titans? So do they take care of him like they take care of a player? Or,
it's a good call.
Or does Will Levis have to pick up the tab on the back end maybe of some of this stuff? Come on.
You would like to think maybe just a little bit from the Levis camp on that
Throw
end.
him a few of that, little bit of that Mayo money that you've made over the last year or so.
How about just send him a jar of Mayo?
Yeah, well, there you go. That's all he needs.
Else. That'll cure it right up. I don't know. That probably falls right on the line of, like, are you a full-time employee or are you a game day employee?
Right. Well, that's kind of what I thought. But that's the first thing that came to my mind is this poor guy's going to have, I'm sure he has health insurance, but he's going to have thousands of dollars.
Workman's comp?
Yeah, he's going to have workman's comp. He's going to have, I would imagine, he's a man in his, 50s or 60s? He's going to have to go through some sort of rehab if you break your leg, right? I mean, I've never broken my leg, knock on wood. I hope it never happens, but, that's a terrible thing to see. So, God bless that man.
On the Colts injury front, got my attention yesterday. The Colts made a practice squad move for a running back. They've cut Spencer Schrader for what seems like the 137th time off the practice squad. And so I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, I feel like they already have a running back on the practice squad. They typically don't carry 2. Well, sure enough, Trey Sermon, with a knee injury, he did not practice along with Jonathan Taylor yesterday. So I think it's probably worth monitoring the running back depth chart here in Week 7. Could it be a lot of Tyler Goodson? Is this something like last week where Sermon misses the first day, but then he's good to go later in the week? Some people in my mentions were rejoicing a bit when they heard that Trey Sermon was banged up, as bad and as sick as that is on that end. So, Andy, again, no Taylor, no Sermon for the second straight week. Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs sat out the Wednesday practice. On the injury front, Ryan Kelly, again, he left the game with a calf injury. So we could be looking at Tanner Bortolini getting yet another start at center. And then defensively, I would say that fell into the surprise categories. No E.J. Speed. He did not practice due to a knee injury. And then Dio Dengbo, he was in and out during the game on Sunday. And he is needed with DeForest Buckner's absence, still likely for another week or so. Dio Dengbo missed yesterday. So quite a few starters on each side of the ball.
Well, that was going to be my question. How should we what are the ones I need to worry about? Kelly and Dio? Are those the two that if I said for Sunday would worry you maybe a little bit more than some of the others? Perhaps Sermon?
I'd probably go Dio and Speed. I mean, again, I don't – Miami scares me in their skill players can change a game. And, like, if you look – okay, why am I worried? I've mentioned this several times throughout the week. I'm a little bit more worried about this. Well, when I think about the Colts defense, I see issues in tackling this season. I see issues in consistent pass rush. And I see issues in coverage bust. Well, against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Devin Achane, if you make any of those mistakes, they have the athletic ability to turn 8 into 80 very, very quickly. So that's where I point to some of those defensive guys of if all of a sudden, Jalen Carlies, who, the rookie linebacker has had, I think, some nice moments. Well, if he goes from 10 snaps to 60.
Right, it's a big difference.
Do you see a rookie that, shows up a little bit more in the game? If Dio Dengbo, who's been asked to play a much bigger role without Buckner, if he's out, how do those snaps get distributed for a D-line that is already struggling in the pass rush department there? So I'd probably point to the defensive injuries more than anything. Frankly, I think Bortolini's done a nice job.
I think he has too.
And I agree. I don't look at Miami and think they have this vaunted front. Frankly, I thought Tennessee had a better front than Miami does. So again, that's where my worry kind of lies for Sunday is coming off the bye week. I think Mike McDaniels is a pretty good offensive coach. I know they have not been good in scoring, But if you give them some opportunities in the open field, that's a different level of potency than what Tennessee possesses.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to throw, with like Alec Pierce, you think of him, if he's going to hurt you, you know what that's going to look like. It's going to be down the
ball
field.
that travels 40 yards in the air.
It's going to be a 50-yard touchdown. It's going to be a big pass interference or hold. It's going to be a big play like that. And listen, I'm not hating on that. I mean, they need him to do that. That is what he is very good at. But you're not going to catch. Alec Pierce isn't going to catch. Now watch it happen in this game. He's not going to catch, a 6-yard slant and take it 44 yards to the house. That's just usually not the way he plays. But Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can absolutely do that. And for what it's worth, again, this goes back to, does the bye week help Huntley and the Dolphins? They, without Tua, their numbers have just evaporated. And that's not even just a fantasy football thing. That's just a football thing. I was wondering as well, how much... Tua, is he a great quarterback? Is he just a good quarterback? Is he an overpaid quarterback? No matter no matter where you settle kind of on that discussion, the way we would, if the Colts were the exact same team, imagine how we would be talking about this game going into Sunday. Like how many people will take the Colts now would not take the Colts if Tua were healthy and this offense for the Miami Dolphins was humming along. I mean, that's how valuable he is. Their offense has been putrid since he left. It's just been terrible.
And dead last in the NFL in scoring this season at 12 points per game. I had to laugh yesterday. I'm watching Mike McDaniel's press conference, and I always enjoy each week when a team's opponent is very bad in one area. I love to hear how the opposing coach describes that unit, that side of the ball, et cetera, et cetera. At one point yesterday, Mike McDaniels described the Colts defense as thoroughly vibrant.
What does that mean?
What the hell does that mean?
Well, they're not vibrant, are they? I mean, they used to be a vibrant offense. Vibrance, happy, upbeat,
high level of energy.
High level of energy. I don't know what's going on with that. They look the opposite of that.
When the music comes on for third down, they really get going there. Thoroughly vibrant was what Mike McDaniels pulled out of the lexicon.
I like Mike McDaniel. I don't know if he is a good coach or a great coach or just a fine offensive coach. He is one of those guys who went to Miami and became very Miami. Like he moved to Miami. It was totally different. Like everyone says, he looks like a drug dealer, basically, in Miami. He's got the Gucci on. He's got the watches on. He's got the expensive shoes. He's all swagged out, man. I like the guy.
You're saying it's only a matter of time before they arrest him. I'm
saying no offense to Joel A. Erickson, but when you live in Milwaukee, you look one way, and when you live in Miami, you look another. That's basically what I'm saying.
Thoroughly vibrant from Mike McDaniel yesterday for the Gus Bradley. I think the question started off with, what have you seen from a Gus Bradley defense? And he started off with, well, it was a reminder that I'm old. So again, it's never a good sign when you go that route, and he was referencing, he's faced Gus Bradley defenses before.
You mean he didn't lead with, boy, they're an attacking defense that gets after the quarterback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those adjectives and those descriptions were not there. So again, I just think their level of, they've got playmakers that can do stuff with the ball is where I fall on the worry meter a little bit higher than last week. And again, tackling, Gus Bradley mentioned it. Hey, we felt like, it was our best tackling day of the season. You're going to need that again here on Sunday. And that's why when we make our picks tomorrow, I will be nowhere near as confident as I was this time last week.
I'm blanking. Before they got to Snoop, who did they try to throw in there at backup quarterback? Who was it?
Skylar Thompson.
Was that who it was? And I remember him from Kansas State. That seems to be...
And this was bad and got hurt, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is where I give Ballard credit. I know the Joe Flacco conversation is out there. Why did the Dolphins ignore backup quarterback when they have the most injured quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, and again,
scary injuries from Tua.
Right, and again, this is a credit to Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen because they invested significantly in backup quarterback, and they did it, I would say last year too with Minshew. It's... Again, Green Bay was able to weather the storm with Malik Willis, even though I laughed at him. Miami has not been able to do that at all here with Tua out for 4 weeks. It's kind of crazy to me.
I mean, Skylar Thompson's just not good enough. I know Mike White was a name. They let him go. I'm not trying to make it sound like
who their other backup was.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make it sound like Mike White is Joe Montana, but I think you could throw him in the game and you feel like, hey, if Tua's out 4 weeks, we can win a game or two and we can stay kind of above water. Just to that. So I did consume, as you did, I consumed more of the media side of what they're talking about there in Miami. And it seems to be that because they've lost defensive players as well, besides Tua. I mean,
correct. They've lost some notable.
They've lost
Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, their best pass rushers out.
I mean, they have lost notable players, not just Tua. But the conversation is, hey, we're kind of on the cusp of surviving this, but to survive it, we kind of need a win in Indianapolis. Well, and again, that's kind of their rhetoric.
This goes back to our 7 a.m. conversation from yesterday. Laugh at me all you want, but if you want your Colts football team in a playoff race late in the season, if you want them in decent wild card position come December 17th, this one matters a whole lot on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I mean, look at the standings. We tiered it out yesterday. And sure, there's a ton of football to be played, and obviously saying anything on week 7 with this extreme amount of confidence is probably ludicrous. But if you look at the standings right now, the Colts have the final playoff spot. Miami's a half game back. Again, they expect Tua to return at some point. Obviously, we'll see how long Tua plays this season. Frankly, we'll see how long Anthony Richardson plays this season. But right now, from a standings point of view, this is a very important game. I can listen to people that actually say this week matters more than next week.
I know. I hate it.
Which is weird to say because
I'm kind of one of those people.
Next week's the rematch against the division leaders. But if you think Houston's going to run away with it, and you're going to say, hey, Colts are going to go 1-1 the next 2 weeks, which game would you rather win? If you want to be realistic, it's probably this game more than the Houston game. Now, of course, some would say, hey, wait a minute. Houston's at Green Bay this week. If they lose and the Colts win, next week, if the Colts somehow pull off the upset in Houston without Nico Collins, they're tied with the Texans atop the AFC South. So, again, this is just kind of the nature of how the schedule looks right now. So it is a very, very important game for both of these teams.
You mentioned the 1 o'clock games, Colts and Dolphins, obviously. Packers, Texans is a 1 o'clock game. And then Lions, Vikings, both of those are good 1 o'clock games. You have Giants, Eagles. That used to mean something, 12 years ago. But I mean, hey, listen, for 1 o'clock games, it's not too bad.
You're telling me we have the Jets in prime time again?
I'm telling you have the Jets and Steelers Sunday Night Football. I mean, come on. Collinsworth has got to be happy. Devontae Adams is back. There's something to talk about. Oh, he'll be loving it. I wanted to get to this. Rick Carlisle, we have a piece of sound from him about tonight's game all the way back on Tuesday. Want to play that here in a second. Can I just clear like 60 seconds for this? So, Caitlin Clark made first team All-WNBA. And that's great. Good for her. And the story, of course, is
Candace Parker was the last rookie, by the way.
Thank you, Corbin.
During the break.
Yes, 2009, right? 2009, Candace Parker.
I guess Maya Moore.
Yeah, no. I mean, so listen, that's great for her. And I want to be clear, they announced the first and second team yesterday. And so if she would have been on the second team, I would be fine with it, okay? I wouldn't say that it's right. I would have her on the first team, but I don't think there would be a bunch of belly aching from me in my substantial belly, okay? There'd be no belly aching about her being on the second team. But this is now the second time. What was the first vote again? Help me here. The first vote that she was Rookie of the Year. There was one tool that left her off, and then there was one tool yesterday or whenever they voted, okay? That left her off the ballot completely on first or second team All-WNBA.
Is a tool only for a man? If it was a woman, would we say toolette?
It's a great point. I believe it is a woman who's voting against her, but I don't. And that's kind of my point. If you're going to have a vote like this, and you're going to, and this is the oldest, most tired take, okay? But I feel like the majority of people agree with me, and I guess I'm pandering a little bit here, that if you're going to be against Caitlin Clark, then just own the vote.
Show your face.
The vote doesn't, yes, it's a unanimous vote, which I find to be silly, but, Heisman voters will come out and say, hey, here's why I voted for such and such and did not vote for the other guy. You see that in Major League Baseball. We get on these old crotchety baseball writers, and at times, rightfully so, I believe the guys like an A-Rod or a Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame, but whatever, that's July Sports Talk Radio, but at least these guys are putting their name on it. Hey, I did not vote for Sammy Sosa. I did not vote for A-Rod or Paul Mero or what. Okay, fine. Okay. But you put your name to it. I don't understand if you're going to be against Caitlin Clark and that is going to be your stance. Why would you not put your name on it? Why would you hide and do that? And I don't know how it happens, but the internet finds everything out. Do they not? Can you keep a secret on the internet in today's day and age? Somebody has to find out. There has to be some sort of leak or some sort of hacking that goes on, KB. We got to find out
Pay
who
the
is voting.
WNBA intern that's counting the votes.
We got to find out who is against Caitlin Clark. And that doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter, but it's silly. Own up to it. It's fine. Just own up to it.
It probably was this time last year where I mentioned this about Tyrese Halliburton in regards, and I don't know if the WNBA treats it in the same light, but remember with Halliburton, All-NBA mattered a whole lot for him contractually.
Yes, it did.
And I am of the belief, I think all of these, public sort of votings should be made public. I mean, you brought up Heisman Trophy and Baseball Hall of Fame and, the weekly AP polls that we see that get attacked, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
If there is financial implications to it, undoubtedly they have to be made public. And I thought that Halliburton thing especially was true. And that's where it gets kind of awkward. I mean, can you imagine, Dustin DePirak from the Star covers the Pacers.
That's a good point, yeah.
What if he doesn't vote Tyrese Halliburton for All-NBA?
Yeah, right.
He's theoretically, in a way, saying, hey, you're not, in my eyes, you're not getting an extra, what was it, $30 million over the course of the contract? Or
It was a band, as the kids would say, yes.
Yeah, it was a ton of money. It was Sean Payton bounty money. It was a significant amount. So that's a little awkward for Dustin DePirak and Tyrese Halliburton moving forward, So, yeah, as I said earlier, this person that did not vote for Caitlin Clark, they should be, banished to the upper deck for their media coverage. Put them in one of those junior mascot costumes for an entire season. Something along those lines.
But I just don't understand why they don't want to own it.
Well, because they're scared of the backlash.
In a public forum, if they're going to be...
Because they're scared of you going on that rant and saying...
I know.
Bob Smith or, Julie Jones. You're ripping them and now you're attacking their Instagram. And et cetera,
I guess I'm attacking their Instagram. You know what's on my Instagram.
Well, you know how
yes.
You know how the crazy fans would...
The Caitlin Clark stands would go after them. I guess I always view them not voting for Caitlin in this instance as they want that smoke.
Well...
So, they want the smoke of, come at me, bro. I guess not, though. Yeah.
Does Cheryl Swoops have a vote?
Oh, man. Does she? I have no idea. I thought it was just media, but, it could be anybody. I really don't know. I got to be honest. I never paid attention to WNBA voting at the end of the season until this year. Not something that was ever on my radar. Probably was Swoops.
How much will the Pacers treat tonight like a regular season game? It does sound like, at least based on what Rick Carlisle said to us earlier in the week, they will. We'll play that audio upcoming. And Anthony Richardson, that return means what? And is there an aspect to the Colts offense that is lacked without him that could get a bit of an injection with him in the lineup? I think those are a couple items we can hit on the other side.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle sound, the Anthony Richardson thought, plus I have a question on Jonathan Taylor as it looks like he's going to miss yet another game on Sunday. So we'll do all that. You'll find out with us in a half an hour if Scott Agnes is going to join at 8:30. We got you to 10 a.m. right here. It's The Fan on a Thursday.
Talk some Colts and Dolphins coming up here in a few. Again, I think the Colts have struggled offensively in one area in particular here. Without Anthony Richardson, would his presence back in the lineup all of a sudden revive that? We'll chat about that here in a few. Again, Pacers' final preseason game tonight. Speaking of random Pacer, see Doug McDermott found a new home yesterday?
I did not see that. Where's he at?
Doug McDermott to the Kings.
Oh, okay, there you go.
You like that? Him and Trey Lyles, maybe?
I have no thoughts on him
Their bench
being with the
unit?
Kings. I have none at all. Other than you did see with the Kings, De'Aaron Fox turned down like a $165 million contract extension. He's going to bet on himself to after the season
Really?
where he can make a lot more money. So good for him. I mean, I assume he'll have a good year. That's my only Kings knowledge that I bring to the table today.
I always thought it weird. It was weird last year when Doug McDermott was like stuck with the Spurs. I'm like, shouldn't he be the prime like trade deadline shooter that goes to
kidding.
a playoff type team? I remember when Greg McDermott, I think he was on with Dan a couple years back, he mentioned how much he was like, I don't know what the future holds for my son in the NBA, but I want him to be with Sabonis wherever he goes. He's like,
Fair enough.
Sabonis is the best screener, the best,
Okay.
kind of like handoff guy.
Right.
I mean, you see it with Sacramento,
Sure.
especially right now. Well, sure enough, Sabonis and McDermott together. So, Pacer legend Doug McDermott, 11th NBA season. with the
That
Kings.
has to get Kings fans all hot and bothered. That
he can be the difference in a
Mc-
playoff series.
Boy, he was so bad here.
Oh, he had a bad end, but I think he had some good moments early. I think that's harsh to rip him, but he definitely had a bad end.
Wait, am I missing something? I thought he never made a three here, almost ever.
At the end, he struggled, but
Okay.
I thought early on he was better than that.
All right, I'll have to look it up. I just thought that was the whole thing. Like, remember they traded Buddy Hield away, and to make up for some of the threes, they brought in McDermott. It just felt like, I don't know. It felt like what we did with him is he's such a good shooter that we micromanaged every shot that he took. So when
Yeah,
he went like 1 for 4, we're like, what the hell? What's wrong with
And-
this guy? What does he stink?
And again, he had two. I mean, I guess for those that forget, he had two stints here. I mean, he had like a 3-year stint.
Right. Well, I
in-
mean, last
right,
year.
Right.
Yeah.
Last year he definitely struggled, but I thought that first stint he actually shot it pretty well here. Buddy Hield, Golden State, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. They were
Seems
talking
like a
about
good
him.
Fit.
It
Pick
does
up
seem
some of those shots that Jordan Poole used to chuck and Klay Thompson.
it does.
shot.
I mean, they need a guy that can shoot. He was, sometimes guys leave, and if you remember, it was like, okay, Buddy could go elsewhere. He's going to get more of an opportunity. He's going to feel better about himself because, here, obviously, things that kind of run its course. He wasn't going to get a contract extension. And sometimes it happens to where guys go somewhere and you're like, well, damn, now he's playing great basketball. Like, it would have been nice if we could have received some of this good basketball. But Buddy Hield went to Philly and did not do anything. I mean, he did. He went
He
to
had that
Philly.
one playoff game, right?
Well, their elimination game.
Yeah.
I think it was their elimination game.
Why didn't they play him earlier?
Yeah, and so, it's interesting. He goes to Golden State, so we'll see if he can kind of capture something. I didn't even pay attention. I just forget. Did he sign there was it a 1-year deal? I'm not asking you to know that. We need to look that up.
I assume.
Yeah.
But, something on the short term on that end. All right, Pacers preseason finale is tonight. Rick Carlisle was on with us earlier in the week, and this is from Tuesday morning, and we asked Rick then what would be the plan here for the preseason finale.
And it's going to depend on health. I mean, Neesmith had a sore ankle yesterday. It got sore in practice. Nothing. There was no incident or anything, but he just had some ankle soreness. So he was held out precautionarily last night. But yeah, I mean, I know where you're going with this. We're gonna play the game more like a real game, and we'll see what's what. And so, look, I'm very well aware, as you guys are, because that's where all these questions are flying my way about, who's going to play, who's going to be in the rotation, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be hard to play more than 9 or 10 guys. So we've got some more time here, and I'm looking forward to continuing to watch the competition.
So, again, more like a real game. To me, that would mean starters into the third quarter.
Agreed.
That's what it would mean.
Yeah, I agree.
To me. And if you look at the 3 preseason games so far, Andy, the first game, they did the hockey subs.
Yep.
The 5 starters would play together, and then the 5 reserves would go in the game.
The starters played about, 16, 17 minutes?
Yeah, they left at halftime. And then the second game, they actually subbed a little bit more like in the first half, like you would see a normal game. I think it was Matherin and Toppin and maybe McConnell. I forget who the third was. They went in, midway point of the first quarter. Again, kind of how you sub normally. Unfortunately, Cleveland didn't play their frontline guys. And then the other night, we did see Halliburton and Siakam rest. He mentioned Neesmith there with that ankle injury. So we've yet to kind of see the dress rehearsal. And that's why I think tonight, maybe because Rick said to us as well on Tuesday, it's going to be hard to get it past 9 or 10 in terms of a consistent rotation. And, of course, health will, impact all of that. But assuming they're healthy, tonight, if it's 9 or 10, Shepard is 11. I guess who's 10? I mean, is 10 Walker? I don't know.
See, I look at, you have the starting 5, and then you have Toppin, Walker, Jackson, Matherin,
McConnell.
That's 9, and then TJ, who is the 6th man or 7th man. I mean, he's going to be there end of the first quarter, into the second quarter. That's 10.
10 seems clear. 9 is where it gets murky for me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, 10's easy. 9, who would be the odd man out? And, I mean, there's a probability, don't you feel, that Ben Shepard is going to, at least early on, maybe not get the run unless
healthy,
a game is sideways?
If the Pacers are healthy, I think right now Ben Shepard, based off what we've seen in the preseason, is the 11th guy. And I'm a bit torn on it, to be honest with you.
I know.
I
me
really
too.
like what Shepard brings. I think he's kind of a perfect back end of a second unit type of guy.
And I feel like they like him.
Oh, I mean,
a lot.
Carlisle,
he raved about him.
Carlisle acts like he's a son, I feel like, at times with some of these comments. Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this then. Is Walker getting, because they understand, let's focus on Jarris Walker, because I don't think any name is a hot take. You paid Toppin, you paid TJ McConnell, Benedict Matherin.
Jackson's your only center, really.
We understand that Isaiah
obviously
Jackson
Wiseman is also out.
Well,
of this,
he's out too.
For those curious.
And again, we'll see what happens. Listen, I like Isaiah Jackson. Maybe I'm not quite as sold. I think we could see some Wiseman, but I don't think any of those are a hot take. I think everyone in Pacerland would agree with that, which leads me to Walker. And this sounds like I'm questioning Rick Carlisle a little bit, and maybe I am, but, the rhetoric was he's going to have to earn playing time. I guess he has then? I mean, if he's getting the first shot, then you're telling me that what he has done in the offseason has been good enough to earn the spot over someone like Ben Shepard. That's what you're telling me.
Don't know if the analogy is good or not. In a way, I feel like it's a little bit Anthony Richardson related.
I think it's a good analogy. I think it's a great one.
For you to get to the level you want to get at team-wise, you feel like you've got to go with this guy, even though the definition of earned is probably not 1,000% here. There's probably an element of... You were drafted, 4 overall for Richardson? And Walker was 8th overall. But, in all seriousness.
I'm with you. It's a good... No, I think your analogy actually is a pretty good one.
Walker, okay, what has Rick Carlisle said to us in his various appearances, really, over the last month or so? More force on defense. We need to get a little bigger, he's mentioned. He's certainly stressed that into the floor, the physicality there.
Rebounding.
Yep. So, again, these are areas, theoretically, that a 6'8 Walker would help you out in. Not that Shepard's poor in those areas, but, a 6'4 2 guard is just a little bit different on that end. So, again, Pacers-Hornets tonight, 7 o'clock inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Our coverage will begin at 6:30 of the pregame show, and this will be another Bally Sports Indiana game.
Hey, listen, it's my game number 2. I'm going to fire up the app. I expect everything to be perfect. It's going to be perfect, right? Come on, have some faith.
Good for you firing up the app in October.
Well, I want to see these games.
You only got half the month.
I know. I think they just start billing when you start paying, I believe. I need to check that again because it's very easy to check if you look at your Apple. If you look at your Apple phone. By the way, Buddy Hield signed a 4-year deal with Philly, and they did a sign and trade. It was a sign and trade to get him to Golden State. I don't know the particulars, but that's what it was. He signed a 4-year, $37.7 million deal this season. He's making nearly $9 million there in Golden State. Not that people care, but I figured I would tie up that loose end.
So, again, things look iffy. Shifting gears here to the Colts front for Jonathan Taylor. It's a 7th straight missed practice for him. If he does not get out there today, I think it's probably fair to say he will miss a 3rd straight game. If you look at the numbers, I think I have this right. I should probably double check it before I say it out loud. I think Taylor has played 25 games in the last 3 years, and he's missed 15.
Yeah, no, this would be miss number
Sunday
15. Yes.
This would be the 15th?
It would be, yes.
Yeah, that's obviously a number. You don't want that ratio to be 1-to-1 or nearing 1-to-1.
Yeah, the last 3 years, or really the last 2.5 years. So he missed a couple games back in 2020, his rookie year, whatever. Still had a very good year. As you guys know, 2021 was the career year. And then I think he's had I think the number I said was 40. He's missed about 15 out of 40 games. Missed 6 games in 2022. Missed 7 games in 23. But it's a little misleading. He missed 7 games in 2023 last year, but if you remember, it took him 2 games to come back from the injury, the ankle injury, or what was it, ankle or knee at the beginning of the year last year, where he missed the first 4 games. So really, he kind of missed the first 6 games of the year, even though he played in those. Well, can I ask you something? Because I thought of this last night, and we'll get to Anthony Richardson here in a second. I think part of this is the cost of doing business with the running back market. It's the reason that some general managers are scared of drafting a running back high and then at some point in their career paying a running back a lot of money. And I have to be honest here because I think Jonathan Taylor means a lot to this team. I think early on in this season, he was playing awesome football. I think he's an awesome football player that I respect a hell a lot. I mean, I do. I mean, what he did his first couple years, what he did at Wisconsin. But the matter of fact is, the last couple years, that hasn't been the case. And, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, last year, he was 74 yards per game. If you take out the 188 at the end of the year, he was 61 yards per game. And we're talking about him essentially here, potentially, missing about a month of football. And there's no part of me that thinks he's going to stay healthy again. I mean, last year, he missed about a month towards the end of the year, came back, I think, around the Atlanta game. So I expect, if he comes back, I expect at some point late November, going into December, for him to need 2-3 more weeks. What should be my takeaway from that? That they need something more established at the second running back, that you are a little bit worried that they've paid Jonathan Taylor and he spent a lot of time being injured or getting his body right to get back to 100%. When he's there and he's healthy, he's awesome. He's always seemingly very good, but that's been fewer and far between the last couple years. We talk so much about AR. I don't know how much we should be talking about Jonathan Taylor as well. I don't expect him to play on Sunday.
I would add it's the cost of doing business with a player that had the amount of wear and tear that he did exiting Wisconsin. I mean, he had nearly 1,000 touches in 3 years of college football.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I mean, look at these running backs that now get drafted. They don't sniff that number.
No.
I mean, it's kind of like Notre Dame's best player, certainly offensively, is Jeremiah Love. Very electric running back, very dynamic running back. And, his people have made it clear, we don't want him carrying the ball 20 times a game.
Right, 408 times in a season.
We like the rotation. We're starting, and I mean, welcome to today's day and age of college athletics, certainly college football. We're thinking about what the second contract looks like in the NFL. And, again, I've brought this up before. We saw Hard Knocks with your Giants earlier this year.
Oh, yeah.
Malky Kawa, ironically enough, Jonathan Taylor's agent, is having a conversation with Frank Gore and Joe Shane, the Giants GM, and they discuss the hesitancy in paying running backs. Saquon Barkley was the example there, of course, at that age. So I think some of it is the cost of doing business with a running back that, again, has had that wear and tear. To your other point, yes, I think when the calendar turns to 2025, and we start to look at next year's draft, I think it makes total sense to draft a running back very early on day 3. Round 4, round 5, I think it makes total sense. I do think as we transition to Richardson and that return, Andy, again, even if Taylor's not in the lineup, I would expect the run game to have a bit of a revival on Sunday.
I would too.
And
right.
you could look at this year's numbers, and if you look at it, with Richardson starting, Colts running backs are a full 1.5 yards per carry better than when Flacco starts. I mean, that is a significant number, a full 1.5 yards, and that's all running backs.
But you can't do anything read option. You look silly doing it with
Right.
Joe Flacco.
You
Everybody
watched the
knows
Titans
it.
last week, and he sticks in the belly of Trey Sermon, and that DN just crashes immediately and makes a play on Sermon. So again, a full 1.5 yards difference. Now, it should be noted, Taylor did not play either of the Flacco starts this season. But go back to last year. Remember Zach Moss's differential?
Oh yeah.
With Flacco? With Minshew versus Richardson. It was staggering. It was, I think it was a full yard, if not more, that difference. So, I mean, the run game was not good last week in Tennessee. You were a one-dimensional offense. I know Goodson had the one run, but still, even Goodson, you would like that yards per carry number to be a little bit higher. I think a return of Richardson should help you out in that area.
You were dink and dunk offense until the last possession when you caught Snead guessing on Alec Pierce.
You were dink and dunk, and to get any yard, I mean, literally on Sunday, I felt like running the football was lighting the ball on fire for a possession.
Especially with Sermon, yeah.
I mean, for a play, it was like,
especially.
Well, there's a run play.
Yeah.
I mean, you might
Second
as
and
well
9.
just tell the guy to move the chains already to second down. Move the 1 to number 2 already there. So I would like to think that the run game, just purely having Richardson as the quarterback, not only his ability to run it, but the responsibility that the Dolphins have to have in accounting for him should increase that.
How much does Anthony Richardson run on Sunday? Like, if I know Shane Steichen in that first drive, I would not be surprised at all if there's a couple design runs up the middle for Anthony Richardson. Right? Would you agree with that? I mean, I'm looking here at his stats.
5.5. That's the over-under.
Is that
you going
the under?
over or?
I'll go over. Now, if we set the over at 5.5, he's went over that twice and he's went under that twice.
Oh, look at that.
In 4 games. So that's actually a pretty
Vegas
good.
needs to contact
yeah,
me.
they do. That's actually a pretty good number. He had 3 against Pittsburgh, but I think we can all understand that he was probably going to go over 5.5 against Pittsburgh. Don't you think that?
Oh, Pittsburgh was
Yeah.
heavy commitment.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was going to run the ball 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So 3 against Pittsburgh, limited opportunity. 8 against Chicago, 4 against Green Bay, and then 6 against Houston. To me, the Houston and Chicago games maybe are more of a representation of Anthony Richardson. Obviously, he left Pittsburgh early, and I don't know. That Green Bay game was just... It was bad from the get-go, and Green Bay I felt like they had the ball for 3/4 of that game.
Well, remember the Houston game. Remember how many runs Richardson had late to score on that final drive? Remember he ran through that dude on the 4th and goal?
That's a good point,
And
yeah.
he took the big hit on the far sideline that I thought should have been flagged there. Nick asks, has Jonathan Taylor had the ankle tightrope surgery for the high ankle sprains? He's had so many, he probably needs it. Don't believe he has had that.
It's a good question.
I should say this. He hasn't had it here in 2024. He did have ankle surgery back in 2023. So he did the start-stop all 2022 pretty much. That offseason, early January that year, he has the ankle surgery. And then that's when the contract saga played out the rest of the offseason. And then if you ask the Taylor camp, he would say he wasn't ready to go based off his health for the first month of the season as he awaited a new contract.
Right.
Whereas if you asked other people in the Colts building, I would say it was Devontae Adams' hamstring.
Yeah, and again, when he came back,
he's healthy.
He needed 2 games. If you remember, that's why last year the 4 weeks that he missed,
Steichen didn't give him a ton of carries
it was
those first couple weeks.
It was more like 6 weeks. Whether that was, we need to get you back into football shape, whether there was an injury, no matter what the conversation, I'm sure we'll never know the total truth there. It was more of a 6-week injury. I think, and this is not a hot take. I know it's a lot of money in running backs, but I'm with you. They need to either get a Zach Moss-like player, okay, an established second running back. I guess I'm thinking of a guy like Alexander Madison, or, and this is where you really need to do it.
Is he a president?
No, he's with the Raiders. And I know that because Alexander Madison's been very good to me in fantasy football over the years.
Sounds like the 9th president.
He does.
Right around Monroe, maybe.
I think the other thing you do is you got to be able to get a guy in the draft. Like, I use him as an example, but, Tyrone Tracy was a 5th rounder.
Yeah,
kid
sure.
from Purdue.
4th, 5th rounder.
And
yeah.
he's a good player. If you had to put him in and start him for 2-3 games, and if you had to, bring him on, he can catch a pass, he can run the ball 4 or 5 times a game. They need to be better there because I think it's evident that, Jonathan Taylor's going to play. His over-under is about 10.5 games a year, 11.5 games. Don't we all feel that way? He's going to miss, I feel like, a month and a half of football going forward.
We are hoping to talk some Pacers with Scott Agnes in 10 minutes. I totally dropped the ball. Mark Dykton out all week. Should have texted Scott yesterday as a reminder. I did not. So I think when Corbin... I've already texted Greg Rakestraw and Matt Taylor for tomorrow, by the way.
Okay.
Rakestraw was listening. He goes, yeah, I get it, Agnes.
Rakestraw's up at 4:15 in the morning, doesn't he? He's got kids. He's got games.
He's got a football coach interview at Webo, Western Boone this morning.
He's interviewing somebody.
County's homecoming king he's interviewing.
Listen, he knows everything about everything when it comes to Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. So I just view Greg Rakestraw as never sleeping. Plus, what's Taylor got going on? He's in the office, 9 o'clock. Come on. What's he got going on? He knows he's coming on with us.
He does have a couple kids. I just think it's nice courtesy to send those texts.
Well, Mark does say, I feel like I woke Agnes up this morning. There's been times that he has said that to us before we've had him on the air.
Last night, even if he stayed up the WNBA game, it's not like, that finished too late. So hopefully on that end. Again, we'll do that here coming up here in a few minutes. Before that, let's go ahead and check it down.
All right, let's start with some Anthony Richardson conversation. He met with the media yesterday before practice. Obviously, the plan is for him to be healthy this week in practice and to go out there and to play on Sunday against Miami. AR was asked the biggest difference this week than last week.
I'm able to move, better, without any worries. Just confident in all of the movements, throwing the ball confident with that. And then just running around out there at practice, I'm confident with all that. So I'll probably say that's the biggest difference.
All right, so there's Anthony Richardson. Now, I love this one, and KB, I'm sure you heard this. You're going to love this one as well. Michael Pittman Jr. on his status. Obviously, he was out yesterday, did not practice yesterday. We know with the injured back. Going to be week to week a little bit with Pittman Jr. Here's what he had to say about his injury.
It's just a commitment, to my teammates. I just want to be there for them, and if I can walk, there's a good chance that I'm going to play. So that's kind of how I do it.
Again, I am interested moving forward with Pittman. It's not like he got open, really, against Tennessee. He just made a couple of unbelievable catches in very crowded areas. Is that a question moving forward? If he's not getting open and he's playing 50, 60 snaps, and those 50-50 balls he doesn't come down with, that might be a question just to keep on the back burner here as we move forward. So it's a long injury list. We'll go over it here coming up in a bit. But Colts and Dolphins, that is Sunday, 1 o'clock. Fox, Kevin Kugler, Daryl Johnston, and last I saw, 3.5 point favorite, the Colts in that one. All right, last night, Major League Baseball, the Dodgers all over the Mets. Shohei Ohtani with a bomb. They're already up, 4-0, I think, when he hit that 3-run shot. So the Dodgers up 2-1 in that series. We will get both series in action today. It'll be the Yankees and the Guardians. Not sure if the Guardians have remembered how to play baseball. I guess we'll find out coming up a little bit later today. What is that, 5:07, 5:08, something like that on first pitch?
It's the early game, 5:08 first pitch.
So that is from Cleveland, and then a Game 4, Mets and Dodgers, will follow around 8 o'clock tonight. Also tonight, you'll get one of the worst-looking Thursday night football games I've seen in a while. Broncos and Saints.
It's a big game. You're rooting for the Saints.
Broncos are a road favorite. Yes, Colts fans.
We're rooting for the Saints, right?
You do want the Saints.
You want Spencer Rattler to have some magic there in the Big Easy. Come on.
If you have the energy to have NFL fandom tonight, that's where you need it.
I don't even know. There's not a fan outside of Cortland Sutton. I mean that. Maybe Javonte Williams,
I think
the running back.
Starting Javonte Williams in the league.
Those would be the only fantasy football. There's no one fantasy football-wise. Taysom Hill, he was the other one that's out tonight. Is Kamara in? Is he
I don't
playing?
know.
I mean,
Who knows?
everybody is out. I think Kamara is in, so he would be one. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 guys. Al Michaels going to complain about that game. He's going to complain the entire time. WNBA, let's play this, Corbin. We might as well. Liberty 80-77 over the Lynx. Sabrina, how do you say her name?
Ionescu.
Ionescu. She hit the big 3. I mean, at least 6-7 feet behind the three-point line. Here's how it sounded last night on ESPN.
They still have their reset. Into Phoebish. 8 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter of game 3. 4 seconds. Ionescu will heave and hit! And hit! Sabrina Ionescu with the biggest shot in Liberty history.
Yeah, she hit that with 1 second to go.
The old road silencer
pretty good.
there. The
It's
crowd.
pretty good.
That is a great, great call by Ryan Rucco. I love that.
Yeah, so they're up 2-1. Their next game, WNBA Finals, coming up on Friday.
And then all I got is college football. Look ahead to this weekend again, Purdue and Oregon. That is a Friday night game on Fox tomorrow night there in West Lafayette. Oregon favored by 27.5. I haven't put the full mortgage on Purdue, but I've put a substantial amount on Purdue covering that. Indiana, right around a touchdown favorite. Kurt Signetti certainly making the media rounds. He was with McAfee yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be Nebraska. That is a noon kickoff. Fox, big noon. That show will be coming up on Saturday. And Notre Dame down in the ATL. They will be in the Falcons Stadium taking on Georgia Tech in that one.
Should I be worried at all that Indiana's getting the love in the pub this week? A lot of media going on right now there in Bloomington. Does that worry you at all? Touching the money at all, or what?
Who's making the rounds more, our presidential candidates or Kurt Signetti this week?
I tell you, it might be Signetti. It really might be Signetti. I did hear the thing he said about McAfee on UCLA. We woke up, we kicked their ass, and we left. I'm like, okay.
He had a couple comments yesterday.
You're
I was
picking
like,
on
this
UCLA.
man is just one of a kind.
What?
He's like, yeah, we got to the hotel at 8 o'clock. I don't need to get there early. We woke up and we kicked their ass. But he can back up everything.
Oh, goodness. Well, so far
right
he
now,
can.
Right now, he can literally say anything.
I know. Well, right now he can. He will be one of those. If he were not at Indiana, and nothing against Indiana, but if he were at, you mentioned Florida, we've talked about that. If he were at a place like that, saying the things that he is saying, people would love him. But when he lost a game or made a goof on the sideline, fine bomb. Everyone would be lined up to crush Kurt Signetti.
He's got SEC cockiness through the roof.
Yeah, he does.
Google him. He can back it up right now.
You might as well. So good stuff there. Reminder again, Pacers, Hornets tonight. Our pregame coverage beginning at 6:30 right on the Fan. You mentioned Inside Indiana Football with Kurt Signetti. That's coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Okay, on the other end, find out with us if we can wake up Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. We'll all find out together here. It's a Thursday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
I think I was fitting to hear the Herb Simon snippet there from his Hall of Fame speech over the weekend, because our next guest was there, and we appreciate. First, I should apologize, Scott Agnes. I'm sorry for not sending you a text yesterday, asking and seeing if you could come on in your usual 8:30 Thursday spot. So apologies on that end. Thank you for waking up with us.
Yeah, no apologies. I've said on it every Thursday, so no worries.
We appreciate that. How was the old Hoops Hall? And I don't know, I feel like it kind of snuck up on us. I had totally forgotten about it. Then all of a sudden I see you're there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, Herb Simon is going in this weekend.
Yeah, it was not an opportune time, really, right, because of so much going on. I mean, at that very moment, first of all, you never want to compete against NFL Sundays. But on top of that, you have MLB playoffs going on. You have the WNBA finals going on as well. You just had the college football slate. So the reason it was later and overlapping so much with all of that, KB, was because of the Paris Olympics. And there's so many involved, obviously, with the NBA and USA Basketball, who are part of the Hall of Fame. And so to take care of that, they pushed it back probably like 8 months ago. And that's why it was such delayed. But it was a fantastic weekend. It's spread out, which is interesting. So it goes from kind of Montville, Connecticut, which is near where the Connecticut Sun play, and Mohegan Sun. That's where the first couple days are. And then it goes about an hour and a half away up to Springfield, Massachusetts for the final day and for the massive, enshrinement formality that we all saw on Sunday.
Scott, it feels like every time we talk to you, you're always leaving Mohegan Sun. Do you have a player's card at this point? I mean, can you get a comp to buffet? What's going on? A free room maybe on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, and everybody will know, especially that Connecticut Sun team, that it is the most difficult place to get to, because there's no direct flights, and you have to rent a car and drive another hour. Twice in 3 weeks was plenty for me.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you mentioned Mohegan Sun, I'm like, my God, it feels like this is the fifth time we've done this conversation. Scott Agnes with us, Fieldhouse Files, Payless Liquors Hotline. So on Tuesday, we have Rick Carlisle, and, he's like, I'm watching the competition because I asked him about back end of the rotation. He's like, it's going to be tough to go over 9 or 10 guys. Well, we know the starting five. We know Toppin, Jackson, Matherin, and TJ, that's 9. And then I'm assuming Jarris Walker over Ben Shepherd. So what are your thoughts on the rotation? Tonight's going to be a dress rehearsal. Where do you think the battles are right now for minutes on this team on the back end of the roster?
Yeah, I think that's what you're looking at exactly. And I would give the edge right now probably to Jarris Walker, just because of the number of guards that they have in front of him. But we all know in the NBA and throughout an 82-game season, there will be injuries or guys dealing with certain stuff. And so Shep will absolutely be very difficult to keep out of that rotation. I think he'll mix in minutes and probably do so pretty quickly. But they're very curious to see, as am I, what Jarris will look like playing that small forward position. It takes him a little bit out of his more natural four, playing bigger. But this is something that not only helps upgrade the Pacers' size, but also allows for their lottery pick to get some minutes out there. And so he's the guy, if anyone, I would say has been spotlighted or has been emphasized more than anyone maybe with these minutes here in the first 3 preseason games. The rest of the guys, many of them didn't even play last game. Some played 20. He played like 37 minutes. So that's probably one of the biggest indicators of what we've seen so far, I would say, in the exhibition play.
Again, Scott Agnes with us here from Fieldhouse Files. Pacers preseason finale tonight with the Hornets, and in 6 days they'll be in Detroit for their regular season opener coming up on Wednesday. Scott, where have you set the regular season bar for this team?
I think 50 wins. You won 47 last year. The over-under, which is usually a fairly good indicator, was about 47.5. I think 50 wins. 52 is probably my number, but I would set the baseline at being a 50-win team and winning at least one playoff series. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of I probably haven't gone the hardcore win. What I've gone with, Scott, is home court in round 1, which I would
Sure.
50 wins is probably very similar to kind of what that threshold will be. Obviously, last year you got a very compacted Eastern Conference there from a standing standpoint. I just think they are really well built for an 82-game grind. And I don't think every team is like that. I mean, look at Philadelphia already without Paul George. Like, you could get to the postseason, and I could see the Pacers be like a 2 or 3 seed even. But then that matchup, maybe they get Philly in round one, and Philly's, had Paul George for 48 games and Embiid's played 55. But, like, if Embiid and George are healthy for the playoffs, then maybe the thinking is a little different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, entirely. And we all have seen how the game and the style of play shifts even once you move from regular season play to the postseason. But that's an excellent point, right? Because of this team's depth, because of the combination of experience, but also guys that need reps and need opportunity. And so because of all that, like Carlisle was saying, you have about 11 guys that you'd be very comfortable, probably even 12 maybe, that you'd be very comfortable throwing out there and being part of that rotation. So depth and youth is very helpful throughout the regular season. So you're right. That's one of their biggest strengths, I think, going in.
Scott, we have seen the frustrating timeouts early in games already from Rick Carlisle. Defensively, the good and bad so far. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess I would start to say there haven't been any great overwhelming takeaways, I think, from this preseason. It's growing to me more and more, Andy, kind of like what KB sees for the last decade with the Colts. Like,
I agree.
You even need to watch the preseason, unfortunately, at the level in which we're moving. So I'm very curious to see the feel and emphasis tonight because, we've seen them start horribly. We've seen the starting unit not setting the tone, even, delay what this team is trying to do to start games and really cause some trouble there. And so I think if you want to point out some certain stuff, it might be the way in which Mathurin responded this past game, for example. I thought he was just okay in the first half, but I thought he really came out with a fight and a new attitude and mentality in the second half. So that was encouraging to me. I've liked what we've seen from James Wiseman. To our previous point about depth, I think Wiseman has shown that I think you would be very comfortable having to put him out for 10 or 15 minutes at least in a need basis right now, for sure. And then the other thing, I know this isn't defensive related, but Nembhard is really good at defense. But Nembhard's the guy, man. Buy all the stock right now. He has just been so impressive in every way. He carries himself. He performs on the court. I think that extension already is looking like a fantastic deal.
Fieldhouse Files, Scott Agnes, he's with us here on this Thursday morning. Scott, last one from me. Shift gears over to the Fever. Caitlin Clark's offseason seemingly has been filled with playing every golf course in central Indiana. Anything on the horizon, like Clark-wise, we should be looking for? I know she's playing in that LPGA Pro-Am coming up in a few weeks. Not the tournament. She's playing in the Pro-Am. But anything that you're keeping an eye on?
No, that's the main thing. They're down kind of in the Tampa area. I'm certain she'll probably be at at least one of the Taylor Swift shows coming up in a couple weeks. That's one of her favorite artists, so I'm guessing she'll be up there as well. But no, otherwise, this offseason is all about, first of all, getting that mental clarity and resting and not touching a ball for at least several weeks, which is very typical of NBA players too, right? If their season ends in mid-April, a lot of guys will stay away from the game till about June 1st, take a month off for their body and all that. And especially a player like her, which is similarity like a LeBron James, who was playing every minute, practicing every minute. It is extremely well deserved. So no, I think she's just making the rounds on to the golf courses across the state, something we're both envious of, and has no immediate plans to go overseas to Europe or take part in the unrivaled tournament. Nothing like that. The next thing is the golf down in Tampa next month.
All right, Scott, we got to go, but I kind of did a mini rant on it. The one media person who is leaving Caitlin Clark off the ballots. We saw it Rookie of the Year. Listen, if you want followers or clicks, Scott, can you find this? Can you smoke out and find out who this person is? That's what we need. We need help. Come on.
Yeah, I know, and unfortunately we cannot. There's 67 voters, and unlike the NBA as of 5 years ago, they make their ballots public. I even checked with the WNBA after the Rookie of the Year, and they said, no, we're not doing that. We don't do that.
So weak.
Last year, there was even an issue with Asia Wilson getting a fourth-place MVP vote when she was a top two winner there. And so it's been an issue. I would love to see that be another thing that is forced to evolve a little bit because there should be some clarity, and that vote makes no sense. And so maybe they don't need to vote anymore.
Scott Agnes from Fieldhouse Files. Again, put them up in the upper deck for the rest of their coverage. Scott, thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Scott Agnes right there. We still need a Caitlin Clark banging on the anvil, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Save it for a big game. I don't know which game's coming up. in November.
Like Caitlin Clark,
Buffalo?
when Man Campbell comes in town.
When Man Campbell comes in town, going for it on fourth down, trick plays, running the football. Oh, boy, I'm scared of that game.
You like that?
I'm scared. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm surprised she hasn't been.
So I think the two home games in November, right? It's Buffalo, like you mentioned there, and then Detroit. I would assume Dallas Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Will bang the Anvil coming up this weekend.
Well, he better.
He goes into the Colts Ring of Honor coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, so good stuff. Can't wait to see Dallas Clark on Sunday. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. Reminder, Jason Hammer going to join us at 9:30.
about one more shout-out to Rigoberto Sanchez, AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Good to see some punter love. Probably not a great week for the return people or the field goal kickers in the AFC, but nonetheless, Rigo takes that award home. He signed a big contract, Andy, in the offseason. 3 years, $7.5 million.
That's a good point.
Tore the Achilles a couple years ago, and this season he already ranks tied for first in the NFL in punts inside the 20. Obviously, you saw him ice the game with one of those, one of the wilder punts you'll see on Sunday. So shout out to the pride of Hawaii, Rigoberto Sanchez.
Yeah, that's where he went to college for a couple of years, a place I would love to go. I hear the flight over to Hawaii is not friendly. It's a rather laborious flight.
Yeah, our honeymoon was Maui. We did Dallas to Maui. Yeah, it was long.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I'm not a big flight human.
I have a buddy who is like still smokes cigarettes, and he's like, yeah, that was a long flight. I'm like, yeah, I guess for you it probably was.
I know. I probably should have done the old sleeping aid.
The sleeping aid. Yeah. Well, I can't.
I'll ask Mike McDaniel based off what you said earlier about him.
I can't sleep on planes
no,
very
horrible.
well at all.
I'm horrible. I did the when the Colts played in London, what was that, 2016?
Oh, yeah.
They're like, you got to sleep on the flight. You got to sleep on the flight. It was, pretty much a Thursday night red eye. Did not, and then it's like, don't sleep when you get, I think we had like 2 hours at the hotel before practice started. And I did the hour nap at the hotel.
You probably felt worse, didn't you?
Shot for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you had to feel terrible. You're up basically for what, 36 hours plus? That's miserable. Yeah, I'm with you. I have buddies, Nikki can do this too. She can go on a plane and they can just go to sleep before, anything even happens, before the plane moves. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I wanted to play. We have a couple minutes here before the 9 o'clock. I wanted to play this, and I just want your thoughts on it. We don't have to belabor it, obviously. So Shane Steichen yesterday was talking about Anthony Richardson and injuries and, protecting his future, but also understanding that, hey, the guy needs to get out there and play football. We've talked about that. And then he was asked, I'm not sure exactly who asked it, but was asked about, is he going to have to be 100% to play in these games? Because that was the rhetoric last week, is he wasn't 100%, so he didn't play there in Nashville. Here's what Steichen had to say, and then I got a question for you.
Yeah, I think it depends on the injury, you know what I mean? I mean, he's a guy that can run around and make plays. Philip was a pocket passer. But we work through those things, and as you get going and getting older and feeling your body and more, we'll work through those.
Like, I'm not picking on Steichen here, but I'm trying to think, what would be the injury that Anthony Richardson could have to where they wouldn't be worried about him playing through it? He takes hits. You want to run him. A lot of, injuries affect running or they affect throwing. The oblique injury affects both of those things. If he ever had anything with a concussion, we know how the NFL is now dealing with that. I mean, that's a 1 or a 2 week injury. For many players, actually for just about all players, he gets concussion. You're missing the next week if you had a foot issue or an ankle issue like Jonathan Taylor or a toe like Josh Downs. Again, I just heard that and I thought, I don't know if there is an injury that AR could have where they would say, okay, let's go ahead and play through it. I'm trying not to nitpick, but, I feel like any injury that he could have would affect either him running the football, being a mobile quarterback, or throwing the football. Am I wrong? Can you think of anything?
Thumb injury on the left hand.
That would be the only thing,
right?
I guess.
I certainly hear where you come from. Like the sprained ankle for Phillip Rivers matters a little less than the sprained ankle for Anthony Richardson on that. And by the way, the Colts just made a roster move I want to get to here at some point. I don't know if it has anything to do with Josh Downs' status or not.
Boy.
But I thought it was odd, Andy, that Richardson still dressed in the football game and didn't play. And I get it would have taken 2 injuries to Joe Flacco and Sam Ehlinger to get to Anthony Richardson on Sunday. But we have seen it happen before.
Sure we have.
And so you were willing to expose him to some level of NFL action, and yet you weren't willing to put him into a game. And just take Richardson's words yesterday. He's like, man, I wasn't 100% week 2 against Green Bay. I mean, look at the hits he took in that opener against Houston there. So I just think there comes a point in time where if he has a little bit of a limitation from a run game standpoint or, a throwing standpoint, can you become more of a Phillip Rivers type pocket passer for a game? Obviously, what we've seen with him so far in his NFL career, the answer would be that game's probably not going to go very well for Anthony Richardson. But that is life as a quarterback at times to survive a 17-game schedule. The Colts just signed Ethan Fernia to the practice squad. That is a slot wide receiver who's been with the team, I would say, a decent amount off and on over the last couple of seasons. You don't usually see like a Thursday practice squad addition there. He is a little bit more of a slot wideout.
Ugh.
Again, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sharing you context around a roster move. I don't want to overly read anything into it, but we have seen roster moves like this happen before, and they have been directly related to injuries. So, they signed a running back yesterday. Well, I asked Shane Steichen at the press conference, hey, is Trey Sermon dealing with something? You just signed another running back. Well, sure enough, Trey Sermon, who did not leave the game due to injury, by the way, on Sunday, he is dealing with a knee injury. So, I don't know. Maybe something just to keep an eye on.
If Josh Downs misses time, that is just that's a bummer on top of a bummer.
Because they have other wideouts, right? Isn't Laquan Treadwell still in the practice squad?
I'm still not worried.
DJ Montgomery, right?
Yeah, I should say I'm worried a little bit, but I'm still not alarmed. How does that sound? I'm not feeling like I felt last week that, last week I thought this time we sat in here, I thought Pittman and Downs and Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor would all be a no-go, and I don't feel that way. Yeah, is it Salvon Ahmed? Is that how you say who they brought in? He played for Miami for a couple years.
Yeah.
Again, I remember
had a nice college career at Washington.
He did, and he's had a couple small moments. I know he's always been a backup running back. Miami's always had seems like 4 or 5 guys there that they could throw in. So,
and I think it's worth again, in Fernia's case, it's not like you're taking a chance on the 6'11" offensive tackle they signed a few weeks ago.
Right.
Like, this is a guy that you've seen before. So, he knows you know him, and he's a different type of wideout than the other two on the practice squad. Now,
it's a good point.
Part of me would say if Josh Downs, for some reason, can't give it a go, wouldn't that be Anthony Gould's time? So, I don't know. Could be reading way too much into it, but thought I'd provide a little context around the roster.
You got a lot of spots on the practice squad, right? And I think that's part of it as well. Jason Hammer at 9:30 on the other end. Kelly Kroskoff, she joins us. We'll talk a little Fever with her new spot there with the Indiana Fever. We'll get back to the Anthony Richardson conversation as well. 9 o'clock hour around the corner. Appreciate you waking up with us. Wake Up Call right here on The Fan.
Very Mark Dykton-like, 9 o'clock hour on a Thursday. At some point here in the 9 o'clock hour, Andy, remind me, we've got a couple of pairs of tickets to give away to the Jim Irsay movie premiere. Okay?
Okay.
You ready for this?
I am ready. Not know this was happening.
Partnering with the Heartland Film Festival. This is over at Newfields coming
Okay.
up. I think the red carpet begins at 5:30. A film to debut there a little bit after that.
You ever been down a red carpet?
I have not.
Okay.
No, I can't say I have.
Okay, fair enough.
You?
I don't think I have either.
Well, I thought maybe the Derby you would have walked on there.
I've been on the other side, on the reporter side. You know, Drewski and some of those. You know, sometimes they're very flimsy celebrities. You know, it's celebrity. They give you a book so you know who they are.
Yeah, probably smart on that end.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the film is called Off the Record, a captivating exploration of love, music, self-discovery set against the backdrop of the music industry. The film takes viewers on a dynamic journey through challenges women face in the male-dominated spaces, navigating themes of autonomy, artistic integrity, and the cost of fame. So if you'd like a pair of tickets, give us a call, 317-239-1070. I think we got a few that we can hand out.
Well, we also have Indy 11 tickets that we'll give away at the back end of the show with the pop quiz. And what was the gentleman's name? We got a winner. Was that Kevin or something yesterday?
Oh, Elijah.
Elijah, that's it. We got a winner on the pop quiz yesterday.
We did.
I'm sure Scotty's going to make it so difficult. Everything's going to be 1925's baseball today.
Well,
everything.
Speaking of winners, this is certainly a woman that has built a winner for the Indiana Fever, and now she is tasked with trying to do that again. She is the new president of the Fever, a very familiar name and a familiar title to us here in this market. Kelly Kroskoff joins us here on this Thursday morning. Kelly, congrats on being back on the other side of the building, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's good to talk to you guys, and good to be back where my heart is, and women's basketball, and obviously the Indiana Fever.
Actually, if you don't mind, I want to start with last night. Boy, that was a hell of a game, and that was a hell of a finish in Game 3 in Minnesota. What did you think of, I guess, the final so far, that game, and Sabrina hitting that shot that was certainly the shot heard around the world and one that silenced a lot of those fans inside of that building?
What a great environment and great basketball game. I mean, this is the way the series is going to go. I think, everybody that's been following both these teams, you kind of knew this is going to be who makes the last shot or who makes the last stop. And, that was incredible. Sabrina's been doing that quite a bit in her career, making long threes. I just think this is going to go down to really Game 5, probably something very similar to what we saw last night.
Kelly, I'm wondering, as we see the Fever really taking off, getting Caitlin Clark now building around her, something that you'll be obviously tasked to do. If you had one, dream for this organization that they could become, what would it be? If you're dreaming big, what would that dream be today as we sit here on October 17th?
Yeah, I mean, I when I took this job, 25 years ago, and I stood in the on the dirt floor of what was at that time Conseco Fieldhouse. I hadn't quite finished it, and I told Rick Fusen, the CEO at the time, I was like, I want to put some banners up in this rafters here, and I'm bummed because we were in the finals 3 times and goes through the final games both times, and we got one. But for me, it's about building consistency of winning and legacy of championship banners, and being an iconic WNBA franchise. From a historical perspective, I was in the league office when the Houston Comets won the first 4 titles in a row, and dynasties. You don't say that word very much, but when you have great players to build around, and we were fortunate to draft Leah Boston and then Caitlin Clark. Those are. It certainly sets you up to continue to build through them, and get more banners in the rafters.
Kelly Kroskoff is with us here on this Thursday morning. She is the president of the Indiana Fever as Lynn Dunn transitions into more of a senior role with the organization. And frankly, without Kelly, who knows if the Fever is still here based off what she helped build there in the early years. Where would you say the biggest difference is between the blueprint that you had to orchestrate back, like you said, a couple decades ago versus what you're being tasked with right now?
Well, the biggest difference is just maturity. The league is more mature. The business has grown, and the resources. There's more resources. I mean, I had we didn't have the staff that you see now. Some of the resources that one person does 5 different things, and we've got people scouting and coaching and doing analytics, and everybody's doing everything. And a lot of that is the mentality of, look, we're building a league for the future. And I've said this before, but I used to tell our players, and Tamika was one of them. It's like, we're building this for somebody's 10-year-old daughter. We may not reap the benefits of what's happening, and now you're seeing teams are able to charter, and there's other resources that are available because the growth of women's basketball at certainly the feeder levels, the college level, and now into the pros. This is where we're headed, and it just took time, and it took generations, of dads with daughters who demand that their daughters have the same opportunities that the guys have.
Kelly Kroskoff is with us here again, Fever president. On the off-season checklist, the first couple of items are what?
Well, first couple of items is obviously preparing. We have an expansion draft coming up in December. And then, we have free agency, and Kelsey Mitchell is a top priority. I think I've said it before. She's an unrestricted free agent. We have the ability to core a player, which is similar to what the franchise tag in the NFL. So, it's an easy one for me because the backcourt of Clark and Mitchell is about as dynamic as you can get, and they were just getting started. So, and then going forward, really just, looking at filling some of the holes and the needs that we need to put around the style of play that we want to play, which is spreading the floor, getting more shooters around Caitlin and Kelsey and Aaliyah, and, bolstering our front court a little bit, probably need a little bit more strength in the paint. And and just let this group mature. And they were just getting their stride. I think the experience level that you get by getting into the playoffs certainly is going to go a long ways next year.
The next step in Caitlin Clark's game, what does that look like, do you think?
Oh, I think a couple of things that first of all, her adaptability from when she came into the league and, those first couple of games to where she ended up in September was impressive. Not surprising. I mean, she has this competitive fire that I saw in Catchings that, this determination of self-awareness of knowing where you need to get better and where you need to get, to improve your game. I think for her, just strengthening her body, you're playing against older, mature women, athletes that have kind of been at this a little bit longer. So I do think that's something that she's going to focus on. And then, defensively, we've got to be better defensively. So you can't win by being last in the league or second to last in the league in defense. And I think that's an area of focus for us as we look at personnel and certainly as on a team improvement. But for her, she's got a lot of nuances to her game. She's an brilliant offensive player, and I think that's that'll continue to kind of probably mixing up her shots, finding other ways where people can't. When people figure out what you do, which is going left one dribble, they're going to find ways to stop that. So you've got to find other ways so they can't stop you, so she can continue scoring at a high clip.
Kelly, I know you were obviously with the Pacers for, a huge chunk of this past year, so you didn't maybe see the up-close, Fever, whatever. You weren't traveling with the team to the extent that you obviously are going now forward. But I'm just curious, what has been the craziest thing with this Caitlin Clark mania that you have witnessed and you have observed that, you kind of reference in all your years around the game of women's basketball?
I mean, I don't know. I personally, to your point, I wasn't with them, on the road, but just what I loved seeing is just the massive amounts of kids, girls and boys. When I see a little boy wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey, or even back when they were wearing a Catchings jersey, to me, you're transcending sport. This is a cultural, societal shift in how people view women and how they view women athletes as role models. And it's just about basketball. She's just a baller. So, the mania around her, is because I think her game translates, and it's like everybody watches her play, and there's a way that she plays the game that it's easy to flow and follow. And so it resonates from every demographic to every age. And it's just really been incredible to watch just how people have really jumped into this game as a fan, and now they're in. Now the record numbers watching just this Minnesota New York series, is really a testament to that as well.
It's funny you say that. I took my daughter to a game earlier this year, and her cousin, who is a 6-year-old niece of mine, and I could not believe how mad that my nephew was that I didn't take him. And I was like, "Oh, yes, sorry, Teddy. I just, hand raised.
No,
I just assumed that Ellen, his little sister, would want to go to that. So yeah, it is very certainly universal across all ages, and like you said, all demographics as well.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, when little boy, I love it because. One of the years when I was running the Fever, we had a player named Erin Phillips, who's a 2-guard from Australia, and she had just a beautiful jump shot. And she was on our championship team. And I had a dad bring his son down to pregame, kind of early in the process when he first arrived to the arena, because he wanted his 8-year-old son, to watch her shoot because he thought her shooting. I was like, wow, this is stunning. This was 12 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and this was what is coming, right? I mean, you're a dad with daughters, so this opportunity to say, look, it doesn't matter, male or female, a baller's a baller. And I feel like that's where we've come as women's basketball, and then, becoming this sustainable business to make sure that we're in the market and can be sustainable is obviously where we're headed.
Again, she is Fever president Kelly Krauskopf. Of course, you know her name quite well in this market. Back over with the Fever. Now, this was several years ago, I think 2018. You became the first woman in NBA league history to hold an executive title over on that side of it, and now you have shifted back over to the Fever. We'll end with this, I guess. Could you compare at all the rebuilds to what you helped orchestrate with the Pacers and now the path that they are on to what the Fever have started, and obviously you hope to continue down that path?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of comparables because, anytime you start with a point guard, I mean, if you just look at the way Tyrese plays the game, and Caitlin is certainly as similar as you can get, then it's a great way to start building because you can kind of build around their style. But there is a lot of comparables. I just know that, the success of building rosters isn't always based on talent, it's based on fit. And when you have the right fit, not only just of basketball skill, but of just people in the locker room, players that want to play for each other. I look at Minnesota's roster and what Cheryl Reeve has done. She didn't go after the most highest talented super team. She went after fit. And those are success pointers that I think we try to do on the Pacers side. And, I'm going to continue to look to how to build with what we're doing on the Fever side.
Well, Kelly, congrats. I think certainly some Fever fans were curious what would the direction look like post Lynn Dunn, and they are very, very thrilled to see such a familiar name and accomplished name back running the organization. So congrats on that. Looking forward to seeing you over at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, and appreciate the time on this Thursday morning.
You bet. And if you need to get some good one-liners, you got to get Dunn back on because nobody can talk like Coach Dunn.
I thought at times the FCC was going to come after us there. One of a kind, to say the least, Lynn Dunn.
No doubt.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That's Kelly Krauskopf right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Yeah, we definitely need to still have our Lynn Dunn conversations.
She's not. It may not be every week, but she's not going to hide from us all season. I know she's going to be watching and doing whatever else she does, traveling and reading her books and whatever else. Just one quick thing, and I know we'll move on. And by the way, Corbin emailed us something that I actually want to hit on. So thank you, Corbin, because I do want to talk about this. But it has to do with Tom Brady, by the way. I think besides Kelsey Mitchell, and that's obviously the big one, okay? That's the Pascal Siakam. You got to take care of that, and then everything else can happen. The number one, and of course, defense rebounding, but this is part of it. They need a player or two. They need a James Johnson. That's what the Fever need.
Enforcer?
Last year, and it'd be nice if you got an enforcer that could also grab some rebounds and play good defense and get a couple putbacks. But they need
Grace Berger.
They need a player or two that's going to stand up when other players go after Caitlin Clark. I felt like, at the beginning of last year, you saw it, but also in the playoffs, these other teams had kind of a physical a physical edge, I guess, on the Fever a lot of times. And it's easy to become a little bit, if you're playing fast and you're playing where you're going to shoot more threes, it's easy to become or get the label of a finesse team. But players in the league are going to go after Caitlin Clark. That's how you beat the Fever. So for me, they need a sense of toughness. And Kelly mentioned it there. But, for me, besides Kelsey Mitchell, that's the thing. I hope they go into next year with a player or two that's going to be a little bit more like James Johnson is for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, frankly, I'd like to see the players that are actually on the floor do that more.
Okay.
And not necessarily someone that's passing out towels on the bench.
I'm wondering if that's who they are, though, I guess.
I thought they got better than that as the season moved along. I thought Aaliyah Boston came to her defense on several occasions as the season moved along. Because, again, if you want to talk about the specific moment of the Chicago game here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse when Kennedy Carter, committed that foul in the backcourt and just the beyond unnecessary play. I mean, again, Aaliyah Boston was right there when it happened. And, again, I thought as the season moved along, you saw more of that, but I think it's really important. And I thought Erica Wheeler spearheaded a lot of that. And again, she saw the floor. I think it's important to make sure her teammates that are out there, when that happens, continues there. And I did think late in the year, the emergence of Lexi Hall was huge for that team.
Sure.
And just a bit of a 3-and-D type of player. Because, when you hear Kelly Krauskopf describe the styles that they want to add, it's out of both sides of her mouth. It's out, hey, we need shooting, but we also need some defense. And so, again, being able to find that is certainly a luxury, but I thought Lexi Hall, a former top 10 pick, we probably forget that at times, she provided that. So still anxious to see that expansion draft and exactly who they will protect and who will be on their way to Golden State. That is the new expansion franchise in the WNBA.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't worried about an expansion draft and win. The NBA had one win, however many years ago that was, right?
Yeah,
the NFL had it with the Jags and Panthers.
Houston Texans.
Yeah, I guess that's about right. Okay, so this was sent to us, and we'll get Jason Hammer here in about 15 minutes. He and Rob were on fire last week. So Hammer, he's not going to be in studio. He's going to be on the phone. He is going to be braggadocious this week.
As he should be.
So get ready. So we'll talk about that. Again, Degenerates Next Door podcast. Those guys doing a great job. I wanted just to throw this out here because we mentioned this yesterday, and good finding this, Corbin, and emailing it to us. This is Seth Wickersham, who I believe now works for the Bleacher Report. No, ESPN. I apologize. ESPN.com. And here are the restrictions that Tom Brady is going to have as a broadcaster now that he owns 10% of the Vegas Raiders. And again, he signed in the offseason to Fox without having any experience, a 10-year, $375, is that right? $375 million deal, okay? It's just a ridiculous deal to be a broadcaster for one NFL game a year. So here are the restrictions that Brady is going to have going forward now that he owns the team or part of the team. He's not going to be permitted to be in another team's facility. He's not permitted to witness another team's practice. He's not permitted to attend broadcast production meetings either in person or virtually. He's prohibited from publicly criticizing game officials and other clubs.
Well, how the hell can he do his job? You've named like four things he needs to...
There's two more. He's subject to the NFL's gambling policy, whatever, and he's subject to the NFL's anti-tampering policy, which I could see him, getting in sticky waters there.
I think it's their drug policy.
Well, yeah, that would be it. I don't know if Fox cares. They had to have known that this was out there, that he wanted to own be a part owner of a team, and that there were going to be stipulations on the back end. But I don't know. You tell me. This is your most valuable asset. Cannot be a part of basically being or getting ready for a broadcast. I know it's a lot of money. It makes me think, how many years is he going to be there at Fox? I don't know. I don't like it. We both didn't like it yesterday. So there it is.
And I guess just a little peek behind the curtain, for example. So Kevin Kugler, Daryl Johnson, and Sarah Oakham, that is the broadcast crew for the Colts Dolphins coming up Sunday at Lucas Oil. They will be at practice tomorrow.
Sure.
Every single Friday of a Colts home game, they host the broadcast crew at practice. And then what you do is after practice, you do your home broadcast meetings. So, for example, Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson, Zaire Franklin, probably another player or two would meet with the broadcast crew for 5 to 10 minutes apiece. And then, boom, Saturday, when the road team, when the Miami Dolphins fly in, they'll go to the team hotel, and they'll do the same thing with the Dolphins. They won't attend Dolphins practice, but they will meet with them. So Brady can't do any of that. He can't. Is what you just told me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess can't get ready. I mean, that's what it says here.
Now, I must say, I think
production
some
meetings.
of that stuff is a hair stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I maybe attending practice is not, but, like, I think he could chat with the opposing, head coach. I mean, it's up to them to say how much they want to say to Tom Brady publicly, but, like, I think that, to me, seems a little bit overstepping with some of those rules.
My only question would be, he's not permitted. This is what it says again on ESPN.
Yeah, not being in the building, watching practice, okay.
That's understandable.
I get that stuff.
Sure.
But not doing virtual broadcast meetings or like
why can't he do that?
How is that any different than Jim Irsay, shaking Brady's hand on the field before the game? Not that he would ever have done that, and them talking for 5 minutes.
I don't know. I guess part of me, why did Fox do this? They were fine with Greg Olsen. I feel like Brady is. When Romo took over for Phil Simms.
Yeah, I would 100% rather listen to Olsen than Brady.
People were 1,000%. People were done with Phil Simms. They were kind of annoyed with Phil Simms. Whatever. Okay. And Romo did the thing early on where he was trying to predict and guess plays. And then eventually, after a few weeks, he was predicting plays wrong. He was, they're gonna run to the left, and then they ran to the right, or they threw the ball, whatever it is. But people were paying attention to Romo's performance, good or bad. I feel like no one's paying attention to Tom Brady at all. I mean, there hasn't been a national conversation about him.
I feel like Richard Deitz, the athletic media guy's writing about him every week.
Okay, but I mean, it feels different than Romo, does it not? I mean, Romo was we broke down Romo's performances and when he guessed something right and how cool it was and when he kind of talked over Jim Nantz and you could tell Nantz might be frustrated. I felt like for the first year or two, we really analyzed kind of as a football watching community, Tony Romo. I know some national guys write about it. I mean, we haven't mentioned it one time. We haven't mentioned Tom Brady one time until he took over.
I'll be fair. I haven't watched 1 minute of Brady.
I mean, he's been fine. He hasn't been bad. I mean, he's been okay. He's been fine, but it hasn't been, to me, it's $375 million means you're going to move the needle in some way. Right. And he can't move the needle. Plus, now, I don't know what these stipulations mean. Now he can't be vocal, or can he? What can he be vocal about within the game, whether it be officiating, other teams? I don't know. I mean, to me, this is backfiring. That's a lot of money for Fox. It's like paying a free agent who gets injured all the time. I mean, that's basically what you got.
Speaking of injuries, 9 Colts did not practice yesterday. Let's go over the list on this morning checkdown.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Marian University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, we'll get to that full practice report here in just a second. Anthony Richardson meeting with the media yesterday. I think this has been one of the main conversation topics that we've had this week. AR was asked, hey, can you play in these games without being 100%?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I was 100% after the first game. Just taking hits, your body's just going to feel tired a little bit. Of course, you're going to try to rehab and get better, but you're not going to be 100% throughout the whole season because it's a long season. But, of course, you got to fight through stuff, and if you can manage it and go out there and play for the team, then why not do it?
All right, so there's AR. What about Michael Pittman Jr.? He did not practice yesterday. We'll see about today. He was asked about his injury and about the week. Here's what Michael Pittman had to say.
It's just a commitment, to my teammates. I just want to be there for them, and if I can walk, there's a good chance that I'm gonna play. So that's kind of how I do it.
So again, Richardson was full among the guys that did not practice yesterday. Jonathan Taylor, Trey Sermon, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Braden Smith, Ryan Kelly, Dio Dengbo, EJ Speed, and DeForest Buckner. They've yet to start that 21-day window on him returning to practice. So a lot of names on that list of note. Again, a Wednesday injury report to me is oftentimes the first test of a semester. Thursday is the midterm. Friday's the final exam. We'll get the midterm point of it coming up here in a few hours. Miami a little bit healthier. Still some key guys out defensively, but Devin A-Chain progressing through concussion protocol. So that is one to watch. Again, Snoop Huntley, Pro Bowler Snoop Huntley, starting for Miami coming up on Sunday. All right, last night, Major League Baseball, it was the Dodgers all over the Mets in Game 3, so they take a 2-1 series lead. Shohei Ohtani hit a bomb there, and they're up 4-0 for the, 8-0, that victory, I think it was, the final score.
8-0.
On that end. So today we'll get both CSs back in action, both championship series. That will be, obviously, Game 4 of the Dodgers and the Mets, and Game 3 of the Yankees and the Guardians. We'll see if fundamentals have re-entered the Guardians clubhouse.
Yeah, it's been brutal. The Yankees haven't been much better. This is one of those Yankees win. It's 3-0, and the series is basically over. Also tonight, Pacers and Hornets, our coverage. Final preseason game, our coverage beginning at 6:30 right here on The Fan. Again, Pacers are expected to play the starters and play this like a regular season game. You'd imagine someone like Tyrese Halliburton would go into the third quarter, so we'll find out about that. And then Thursday night football, this is the game. The Bowen household's going to have every single TV on Amazon Prime tonight, Corbin. So get ready. Saints and Broncos tonight at 8:15. Denver favored by a field goal on the road. What a matchup.
I won't watch you play.
Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix. Let's go.
We mentioned it with Kelly Krauskopf just a few minutes ago. Last night, Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. Sabrina Ionescu with the shot that silenced that Minnesota crowd. That was a crowd of 19,521 fans there in the Target Center. It was Ionescu's step back going to her left, 3 there in the final seconds to win the game for the Liberty. So they were up 2-1. They'll try to clinch on the road. Again, it's just a best of 5 for the WNBA Finals. And as Kelly said, she expects it to go 5, and I would say that's probably a safe bet.
And that's changing next year to 7, right?
Correct.
Which it should.
Yep.
It's silly that it's 5. I forgot it was 5 until she mentioned that. All right, coming up on the other side, your favorite degenerate next door. His name is Jason Hammer. He joins us on a Thursday right here on The Fan.
the Indy 11 would get into the postseason with a draw. And right now, with 2 matches to go, playoff spots 4 through 8 wide open, and you've got 7 teams vying for those spots. So some drama here late season.
Yeah, they need at least a tie and or a draw, as they would say in soccer. I mean, you know what they call that? They call that parity. How about that?
And look at that.
That's what they call it.
Now, speaking of parity, speaking of a lot of winners, I'm a little disappointed our next guest is not in studio. I was going to enjoy.
We're to bend the knee to him.
Certainly reap the benefits of it. Jason Hammer, Degenerates Next Door, the gambling podcast. Obviously, Hammer and Nigel every day on WIBC in the afternoons. Jason Hammer, you are a very hot individual when it comes to gambling.
Some weeks you're the dog, some weeks you're the fire hydrant. And gentlemen, lately I've been the dog, baby. We are spraying that success all over those fire hydrants. Let's go.
You're damn right.
Oh, man, that is so true. Remind me again, was it 5-0 over the weekend, and then it was a winning Thursday, was it not?
So last Thursday on this segment, which, again, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on, we went 3-0, ran the table, got that right. College football on the Degenerates Next Door podcast, I ran the table, went 5-0. Hot bets on the Degenerates Next Door podcast, ran the table, went 5-0. 3-2 in the NFL against the spread. But all in all, I think we would all take 13-2 for the weekend.
Oh my God,
Hammer! I mean this.
The fire department needs to be called to the Hammer house.
Whether it's the AI stuff that you guys do, you need to do a spoof where you guys act like you're selling your picks, where you have a 1-800 number, but you're going to have a Northeastern accent. You know, hey, call me now. My lock of the week. I'm Jason Hammer. Call me now. That's what you got to do.
Very good Northeastern accent.
Thank you.
It makes me a little uncomfortable, though, because we all know what's going to happen. I'm going to do this victory lap. I'm going to thump my chest, and I'm going to go 1-14 this weekend because that's how gambling works. But hopefully that's not the case.
Well, I said to Andy Sweeney, again, the great Jason Hammer with us here on the Payless Stickers Hotline, I said to Andy earlier in the show, this Thursday night game gets me excited in no way, shape, or form. This game stinks. Broncos Saints, Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix sounds like an Outback Bowl I watched 5 years ago. I have no interest in it whatsoever, so talk me into it.
All right. This is where the great gift of gambling comes into play because I'm with you. Like, we work hard all week. We take care of our families. We pay the bills, and our reward is Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler. So here's what we're going to do. I'm looking at this as the Broncos are a 3, might find it 2.5 in some spots, road favorite at the Saints. The over-under is 37. Take all those numbers, wad them up, throw them out the window. Because what we've been doing the last couple of weeks is finding alternative ways to beat the house. And you never walk away from a heater. If Alan's dad in The Hangover has taught us anything, you never walk away on a heater. And picking these team totals on Thursday has kind of been our heater. So I'm looking at the Broncos here. Their team total for tonight, total points, is 19.5. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, man, New Orleans, tough place to play, the short week, rookie quarterback, and I hear all that. But this Broncos team has scored 20 points or more 4 out of their 6 games. They had 16 last week against one of the best defenses in the league and the Chargers, who were coming off a bye, who had time to prepare. But when you look at what the Broncos have done against similar defenses to what they'll see tonight, 34 against the Raiders, 20 against Seattle. That was Bo Nix's first game. They put 26 up against the Bucks. It's a Saints team that's banged up. And honestly, I think you're going to get a lot of possessions here. Maybe Spencer Rattler throws it to the other team. The kid only had one good quarter last weekend, and I think you're going to get a lot of 3-and-outs. So you're going to get opportunities here. So give me Denver. We're going to ride the Lightning on this team total one more week, over 19.5. This kind of feels like one of those 20-13 type of games. As long as we get to 20, our toes are tapping.
Jason Hammer with us here on the Payless Liquors Hotline. Are you guys releasing your NFL stuff today, 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock today.
Okay.
We've got the NFL slate. NFL, I think, is the toughest league to bet. So don't be afraid to look around for some team totals and some prop bets. But, yeah, we'll have that all coming out at 1 o'clock today. And as always, it's all free. We don't charge you for crap on our show, baby.
I love it. So, again, team total 19.5 tonight with the Denver Broncos. On the college side, what games stand out to you? And then, boy, your Tennessee Volunteers escaped, and they got a big one against Alabama this weekend. Too bad you can't be down there for that game. Hammer?
Who says I'm not, baby? I got tickets.
Are you
I will
going?
be in attendance.
Whoa. Good
down
for
at
you.
Rocky Top. It's an orange out. Oh, so myself, my boys, we're going to be down there.
Good for
we're
you.
hitting the road on Friday night. We're going to get the old smoky moonshine rolling
Yes.
and ready to go.
That is awesome.
What do you like this Saturday? What games kind of stick out to you already?
So, listen, IU fans, hear me out. I think you're going to win the game, but Nebraska getting a touchdown seems like an awful lot. 6.5 is what Nebraska is getting, and this is kind of the first real test for Indiana. Like, what's been their biggest game so far? Maryland? Is that it?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. 6.5 with Nebraska feels like a big number. I think IU wins. Maybe this is 34-30, 36-30, something like that. But give me Nebraska with 6.5. IU wins the game. I think Nebraska covers. And I've kind of hedged my bet on the Tennessee game. So I've got Bama minus 2.5. Because listen, this podcast we do, it's about money. It's not about your feelings. It's not about your heart. It's about money. So I've got Bama minus 2.5, but I'll be rooting against my own bet when I'm drunk inside Neyland Stadium.
Jason Hammer's with us.
We've all been
Degenerates.
there.
Next door is the podcast. Obviously, Hammer and Nigel on WIBC each and every afternoon. Hammer, I don't have the mortgage on it, but I have a lot on it, and call me an idiot if you feel necessary. I'm taking Purdue in 27.5 tomorrow night against Oregon. There's got to be an emotional hangover. 3 time zones traveling in a short week. Purdue can win a game, or Purdue can lose a game 31-10, right? 34-10.
Like, you've almost talked me into it, but then, like, later on Friday night when we see the score is like 47-6, we're going to look back and go, we put our hard-earned money on Purdue over Oregon?
I know. As soon as you say that, I'm like, Andy told me, 41-10, and all of a sudden I feel like an absolute idiot.
It's a total trap spot, though, for Oregon. You're right. All week long, you've got students on campus telling them how great they are. They're so good. It's a short week. Nobody gets excited for Purdue on a Friday night. But, man, I just can't pull the trigger on that one.
Okay, remind our audience again, Thursday night tonight, we've got the over Broncos 19.5 team total. That is the points for Denver on the road at New Orleans. What else do you like tonight?
2 prop bets. Spencer Rattler over 28.5 passing attempts. I think Denver has a chance to win the game, which means the Saints have to throw. Denver's going to stop the run, which means they're going to have to throw. We don't need completions. We just need attempts. And last week, he threw 40 times, had 22 completions. It's going to be a lot of dink and dunks, but those count. Give us over 28.5 attempts for Spencer Rattler. And we're going to go under 68.5 rush yards for Alvin Kamara. Last week, with Spencer Rattler as a quarterback, 13 carries for just 40 yards. I think Denver, again, they're going to try to stop the run, make Spencer Rattler beat them through the air. We're going under 68.5 on Kamara tonight.
I'm just excited you're going to Rocky Top.
Gosh, that's awesome.
I'm not over that. I mean, that's one of the games of the year. Tennessee can win that game. Kalen DeBoer, I like him, Hammer, but the last couple weeks have scared me. They have not been good.
Yeah, well, my team hasn't scored in the first half in the last 2 weeks.
Fair enough.
So I hear where you're coming from.
You were
Hold my beer,
you were trying to save Billy Napier's job last week. What the hell's Tennessee doing? Come on.
Oh, man,
Come on, guys.
Florida
Come on.
is just, there's something that rhymes with mass, and they should have won that game last week.
That's an understatement. Jason Hammer, as always, sir, thank you so much for the time, and we'll chat with you next Thursday.
Appreciate you guys.
All right, Jason Hammer right there on the Payless Liquors hotline. Again, over on Broncos, 19.5 points. Over on Spencer Rattler, pass attempts. And the under on Alvin Kamara, rushing yards.
And Kamara's had a good year. He's had kind of a bounce-back year, so that would be big. But again, Rattler can get him the ball, those swing passes. You get him 4 or 5 of those a game. I definitely like the Rattler and the team total there with the Broncos. Corbin, can you cut something for me after the show? I loved what he said there. He goes, it's not about your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about your heart. It's about making money.
Well, and again, pardon me, this is why I never bet Notre Dame football.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah. You'd be too
I've already
emotional.
have so much heart and emotion invested into it.
I know.
I don't need a dollar. If I want to make a dollar, I'll look elsewhere. Or hell, I'll bet on the opponent if I need to. And so that's why I'm putting everything behind Ryan Walters tomorrow night.
I love how he goes, you almost talked me into it, but it's Purdue football, basically. You almost talked him into it.
At what point of the night will I regret it? 8:24, 10:03. Will I make it to 11 o'clock?
Yeah, I think. Here's what I think. No, I think you'll know pretty early if you have a live bet, don't you? I mean, if it's 17-0 at the end of the first quarter, early second quarter, you know that Purdue and their new quarterback and Ryan Walters, that it ain't gonna happen. You'll be praying for a backdoor cover, and that you're gonna have to pray quite a bit.
I mean, Walters trying to save his job. A backdoor cover could be great for me.
Good luck with that.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary. I like that. But yes, Corbin, I need you to cut that. It's not about your feelings. It's not about heart. It's about making money, which is fantastic. All right, we got some giveaways. We'll try to give away in the oil change, obviously, Indy 11 tickets as well. Pop quiz up next, 317-239-1070. Pop quiz as we wrap things up. It's a Thursday on the Fan.
All right, give us a call, 317-239-1070. Again, 4-pack of tickets to the Indy 11 match with some playoff implications on the line. We're giving that away on the pop quiz, and we'll see if we go 5 for 5 again. Elijah yesterday, 5 for 5 on that. So 317-239-1070 for those Indy 11 tickets, and we'll see if you can get the Jiffy Lube oil change on top of that. Please tell me you saw the video of the Penn State fan
I did.
who paid to run out of the tunnel at the USC game.
I mean, he paid like $2,000.
This is outstanding. On the list of reasons why I am so obsessed with college athletics, this has risen near the top. So again, USC is trying to raise money.
Right.
Like every school is trying to raise money.
I guess this is one way they're trying to do it.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Let the fans run out of the tunnel, Pay a stupid amount of money, and you can run out of the tunnel and trip and fall over the band or whatever. And sure enough, USC's hosting Penn State, and Penn State, they don't have much to do in State College. We'll happily pay some money, fly out there for the game, and we'll run out of that tunnel in our Penn State gear. And sure enough, one of their diehard supporters did that. It was an awesome video watching that.
Okay, so it was an awesome video. A couple things on this. And by the way, again, 239-1070 for the pop quiz. 317-239-1070. Oil change, Indy 11 tickets. We got a giveaway. We got about 7 minutes left in the show. So I guess I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, okay, KB? That I don't like when teams, they can flag in their ticket department where you're from, that they block opposing teams from purchasing tickets. I think that is a Bush League thing to do. I just do. And they can now track so much of the resale market and everything else. I know what happens. I don't like it. Makes the teams look weak. I don't like it. Whatever,
I like
okay?
it. Home field advantage, baby. Come on.
Okay. So,
create it.
But for some reason, if you're USC, you can't allow this to happen.
That's unbelievable.
Not for $1,500 or
honestly,
$2,000.
I think that would have been an acceptable moment to see that man get tackled by security.
Okay, well, what I was thinking more of a player or a coach.
Well, sure.
Or like the strength and conditioning coach, you know?
I think, hell, the band director. I mean, the guy that does the sword in the ground.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
the sword guy.
I mean, that guy. I don't care if he sues you afterwards. That would have been an epic fan moment. But I've always thought USC's atmosphere is not very good there.
It's usually not very good. I mean, for that game, it was. That was a big game.
No,
Boy,
it was a big game.
Lincoln Riley, if you look over the last 12 games, so the last season of play, I think he's something like 6-6 or 7-5.
Yeah, the old darling there. Again, we've had some of these coaches in the Big Ten. Indiana's going to see one of them with Matt Rule. Luke Fickell at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Throw Lincoln Riley into that boat. I mean, like at times, obviously Matt Rule coached in the NFL, but like Luke Fickell's name has been mentioned before as like, is he the next Michigan, Ohio State type of guy, or is he, even whispers about the NFL, and Wisconsin has just really regressed here. And then again, USC, they thought life after Caleb Williams would have something there, and right now, what are they, 500?
Yeah, they're 3-3. Let me look it up.
With the win over LSU.
They're 3-3, and they're favored by a touchdown this week on the road, College Park. So they're in Maryland. I mean,
I really hope Notre Dame doesn't lose to them to end the year.
Is that who they have? Oh, USC?
Yeah.
Where's that game at?
At the Coliseum.
Oh, is it? That's a good Jersey game.
Oh, it's a great
where
Jersey
the jerseys
game.
look great on TV. So is Penn State, by the way.
And it's an epic fight song game.
It is an epic fight song.
They should do an extra 5-minute halftime just to play the fight songs again.
I know a few people that went out to USC. That's always a place I want to kind of go visit for college, knowing that I would never go there or ever be you can't afford to go there. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I know someone from Kentucky who went out there and. They made it out there in L.A., in the big city, if you will, USC.
I went to the Colts-Rams game there in 2017. That was Scott Tolzien throwing the ball to the Rams quite a lot. That was an ugly one.
Who did the Rams have back then? I'm trying to think. What year?
Goff.
Did you say
was it Goff, Scotty? Does that sound
Probably
right?
was.
It might have been Sean McVay's first game. Does that sound right?
Corbin's shaking his head no, like he knows everything about Sean McVay. So
Jeff Fisher was
Jeff
the opposing
Fisher.
coach? Oh,
Oh,
man.
how could you forget Jeff Fisher was on the
Are
sideline?
we sure? I feel like Sean McVay's
How
been there
dare
for
you?
years.
Well, listen, there's a big difference between the mustache and the 500 record of Jeff Fisher or the very good, young-looking Sean
I was gonna say
McVay.
nothing against Mrs. Fisher, but I know what Mrs. McVay looks like. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a difference on that end as well.
For people that don't know, she was a Ukrainian supermodel. Or model of some kind. I don't know the difference between a model and a supermodel. Maybe I should.
How about you pulling out the country? Very impressive.
Listen, the things that I know, like I don't know how to say most things, but there are things that I know that you go down, the road that I happen to be an expertise in. So, what do we want to do at Pop Quiz? I'm disappointed. We're not getting 8 callers. What do we want to do? We can just boot it today if you want. I mean, I'm reading it. It's not that bad. I thought Scotty would be mean, quite frankly, after we got a winner yesterday, but this is not that bad.
Pull out the Purdue question for our audience out there.
All right, you want this one?
It was Sean McVay's first game. Come on, Corbin.
Come on, Corbin.
Jeff Fisher.
Corbin was very confident that it was Jeff Fisher.
I know, and as soon as he got that confident, I'm like, damn, I guess I'm totally wrong.
All right,
on that.
we're getting callers now. Do you still want me to give you number 3?
No. Let's go rapid fire. Corbin, just bring somebody on the line. Rapid fire.
Of course, now we got 5 calls. Just give us the first one.
4-pack of tickets to the Indy 11. We're going to go rapid fire here. How many? I mean,
that's all people wanted to hear is that there wasn't a bunch of 1940s baseball
who we
questions.
got, Corbin?
We have Jack.
Jack, good luck. Andy Sweeney's tossing number 1 at you.
All right, Jack, let's go. Let's get a winner. Question number 1. The Pacers host the Hornets tonight in preseason action. Who won the regular season series between the Pacers and Hornets last year? Was it Pacers, Hornets, or they split?
Split.
Jack, the ALCS resumes today. Guardians and, of course, the Yankees. 7th time these two teams or these franchises have met in the postseason, which is tied for the second most common matchup in MLB history. Name the only matchup that has occurred more times in the postseason. Yankees-Dodgers, Yankees-Giants, Reds-Pirates, Cardinals-Dodgers.
What was the last one?
Cardinals-Dodgers. It's not right.
Thank you.
Don't overthink this one.
Boy, I'm going to go Red Pirates.
All right, question number 3. The number 2 Oregon Ducks take on Purdue tomorrow night at Ross Aid. The Ducks lead the all-time series just 2-1. They've only played 3 times. Who was Purdue's starting quarterback the last time they faced Oregon? Was it Drew Brees, Joey Elliott, Curtis Painter, Robert Marv? Was it Marv, right? Was Marv, wasn't it? Okay.
Bob Marv, yep.
Yeah, Bob Marv. I remember him. I don't know why I can't remember his name. Go ahead. Brees, Elliott, Painter, Marv.
Marv.
Cold Scout Joey Elliott on that one. That was wrong. Number 4 here. That earthquake that happened in '89, Jack, in the World Series. Giants were supposed to play who?
Oakland.
All right, last one. We got to be quick. Sidney Crosby of the Penguins became the 10th player in NHL history to record 1,600 career points, okay? Who was the last NHL player to reach 1,600 points? Alex Ovechkin, Joe Sakic, Jaromir Jagr, Steve Yzerman.
Soccer.
Jack, stay on the line. Split was correct.
Yeah, not
Yankees, Dodgers for number 2. Like we said, Joey Elliott for 3. He got number 4. It was Giants Athletics.
Jagr.
It was Jagr there for number 5.
Jagr somewhere with a 21-year-old lady. That's all I got.
But
So
you're going to go with Ukrainian model on us again there.
Podcast 1075thefan.com. Have a good afternoon.